How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts. Are still
Venerian.
And Volatile, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week, such as it was. But first of all, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can join us, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or join us in the Discord server, which you can easily get to by clicking the link supplied in the description underneath the YouTube show archive for this episode, or alternatively click on the show logo on any of the show posts for our show at vtwproductions.com.
Yes.
In addition, we have the political spinoff show finally uploaded and public for viewership on YouTube only. They are not unlisted anymore. They were, but they are no longer unlisted. If you would like to go find it, you can search for the Mostly Peaceful Podcast on YouTube, although good luck finding it. Or you can go to our Discord server and go to the announcements tab, and I have posted our 7.5-hour episode 0, broken up into 5 parts, and our 2-hour follow-up episode 1, where we talk about the most recent debates and Trump getting the coof.
Oh, wow. You guys have got ham on that.
I mean, it's just, instead of typing to each other back and forth, we just record it, because we'd be talking about this stuff anyway, and do a bit more research and organize it.
Yep.
That's really all it is.
There's so much to go on with. I mean, now you can talk about the Empress of Light next episode, apparently. I've been watching... Yeah, so the New Zealand
I'm out of the loop
happened.
today. Oh, that. Okay.
Yeah, she got up after, and part of her victory speech was something like light has triumphed over darkness.
Yeah,
or something along those lines.
She does have delusions of grandeur. There's no question.
I saw that and I was like, "You what?"
Yeah, it's just this is the reason why you don't let people in their 30s have the reins of power over an entire country, because they haven't become jaded enough not to think that they have suddenly been elected, the regnant monarch.
Yes. I mean, I want power because I want to change the world. You should never, ever, ever give me power.
You should never give power to anybody who actually wants it. It's far too dangerous.
Oh, that's definitely true. That's always been true.
And if you do get power, the first thing you need to do is hire an accountability buddy professionally to scream at you when you're doing something off the reservation.
Yeah. So, on the stream today, I'm going to keep going with No Man's Sky. I didn't get as far as I wanted to last week, which is just as well, because I still had another sit around and wait with a thumb up your ass quest to do. So, hopefully, if I finish flying all the way across the galaxy, I will finally get my living ship. Which is probably going to look awful. No, my luck.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a giant dong.
It will be a giant... It'll be kind of a grey and white dong, but it'll still be a dong.
It's going to be the whatchamacallit, the SS Medic.
The jokes. Oops. And now I'm just failing at entering a carrier. So this is how good I am at this game. Anywho, for my week, I was tempted to play Baldur's Gate 3, because really a lot of people are really enjoying it, but I just don't see the point in playing an RPG in early access.
Yeah, that seems really dumb.
So instead, I dusted
I was
off...
under the impression that it had come out because everybody was talking about it. I didn't realize it was
it's
just
early access. It's still missing like half of the classes and maybe a handful of races and who knows how much story content. So until it gets a full release, I'm just going to leave it alone.
Yeah,
much as I do want to play it.
That's generally a good strat with RPG early releases, especially because you don't want to get partway into the story and then wait 3 months for the next part.
Yes, thank you for playing our game in early access. You can't go any further. Yeah. So yeah, there's a big JRPG I actually got on my wish list on Steam as well, which is doing the same thing. It's releasing the story in early access chapters and stat it.
I've never been a fan of early access, as I've expressed many, many times, and I don't like the fact that this is just going to lend more weight to the whole live service drip feed content strategy.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
essentially
Only
what
now
it is.
you don't need to even finish it first. And
But-
you have an excuse anytime anybody finds a bug.
On the plus side, though, it is being done by the same people who did Divinity Original Sin. So at least it's going to be it is a competently built game, and they've already got an engine built to handle it. So instead, I dusted off my old save of Pillars of Eternity 1, cheated, killed the final boss, and started Pillars of Eternity 2.
I see.
Yeah, I'd left my save of the first game in a kind of an awkward spot. Like, the final boss is, like, right there. I just jump down the hole and fight him. And then the story is over. Or I could faff around and, admittedly with the first game, wrestle with the rather fiddly game systems.
Yeah.
I probably should have done that because a couple of my companions got the bad ends.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even sure.
That can happen.
Yeah, like the character I honestly don't care about, like the paladin, she's got a bad end. She just kind of wanders off, and that's the end of her story. She reappears in the second game. The priest, though, Durance.
Yeah, you need it. His story's the best.
His story is the best, but I have no idea how you're actually supposed to progress it because you try to talk to him about it, and he just grumbles at you.
Yeah, that's what he does. That's what he do.
He do because he's a miserable old cuss and doesn't like anybody, including his own god.
Well, his god did blow part of him up along with all of his buddies.
Yeah, you keep him in your party and you actually get the full story behind not only just him, but his part in the big war that kind of preceded the events of the game.
Yeah.
And he did do the bad.
Well, he done what he was instructed to do, and it literally blew up in his face.
Yes. So I got his bad end, where basically he spends the game trying to atone for what he did, even though his god actually told him to do it. Yeah, the gods in this game are kind of assholes, by the way. Because you did exactly what I told you to do. I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
How dare you?
How dare you?
Well, the gods are, and the reason they act the way they do is kind of the whole story of the game.
Yeah, that's kind of the big reveal at the end of the game. So if you haven't played it, I'm not going to spoil it.
Well, it's Pillars of Eternity 2's been out, but it is one of those games that takes a while.
It is a very slow burn.
And then it can get around through word of mouth.
Yeah, so Durance's bad end, by the way, is he doesn't ever get to hear anything back from his god at any point. So he just sets a fire and jumps on it. And that's the end of his story.
That's his atonement?
That's
get bored of living.
That's kind of his arc. When you first meet him, he's contemplating doing that pretty much anyway.
Yeah, his god is like the goddess of fire or something.
Yeah, goddess of fire, war, rebirth, that sort of dealio.
Yeah, fire's her shtick.
You meet her in the second game, actually, face to face, sort of, and she's an ass.
Yeah, do you get to punch her in the face?
I haven't reached that point. If that's the case,
I hope you get to punch her in the face.
She does deserve. Well, actually, all of the gods in that game deserve a good boop on the snoot.
Our poor dick waffle of a Darth priest needs to get the opportunity to absolutely clobber his former patron deity right in the face for what she did.
Yeah, I mean, I would have happily progressed his story more if he hadn't stopped. If he'd stopped talking in riddles for 5 minutes, but no, he can't say anything in a straight line.
No, but you can infer what's going on with his thing from context pretty
eventually,
easily.
He does start lightening up, but yeah, that's right towards the end of the game when I think you can actually go back and round out his quest. But
so he's not even like a funny crotchety old curmudgeon.
Oh no, he is.
Well, he has his moments of funny crotchety, but usually he's just a miserable old ass.
But it's less his personality that makes him fun. It's who he does his assholery to, and
Everybody.
and how inevitably, eventually, he'll be crotchety old Darth at the right person that sells him as a character.
Yeah, like most of the time when he's being miserable and crotchety, his target of his crotchetiness is completely undeserving. But you do run into a few people where he is very, especially crotchety, but they entirely deserve it. So yeah, the first game, I finished that off just by cheating because I maybe should have I'd kind of forgotten how half the game system worked anyway. Mm-hmm. So I just cheated through the final boss. so I could actually have a save file to start the second game with, which is a lot better.
Yeah, I've heard they cleaned up a lot of the jank from Pillars of Eternity 1, and that's expected. They were still finding their feet and where they wanted to go with the game, and you can tell they were in the first game. It's still a perfectly serviceable Baldur's Gate style isometric Western RPG.
But this one has pirates.
But yeah, it does have pirates. I haven't played the second game at all.
Yeah. So yeah, they cleaned up a lot of the systems. Like I'm playing a cipher, which is basically a psychic through the second one. Now the first one, you get a companion who's a cipher, and the focus mechanic is an absolute nightmare. Like you got to just let them wail on them and on an enemy doing piddling damage until such time as you get enough focus to actually use an ability, which then may or may not be resisted depending on how good your rolls are. Because yeah, dice rolls are behind it. So that's a pain. I forget what the singer is actually called. The chanter is a similar system. You just got to wait for them to build up enough phrases and small buffs before they can use their big abilities. So they took a lot of the kind of the standing around waiting that a lot of your characters end up doing out of the game. Spell casting is a bit more organic, so you don't just have your pool of spells and that's your lot. You now have an overcharge system, which you can use to just get back an extra spell slot or supercharge an attack, something like that. You get a few choices of what you can do with that, which just improves the gameplay no end.
Yeah, because limited options in terms of what you can do in combat and locking yourself hard into what you're going to be doing for literally the entire game was the biggest problem for me in that game. Because once you get your base core abilities, that's all you're going to be doing. You get no real new tools. I forget what I made Protag, but that was definitely the case for all the other NPCs. There was a clear line of progression on what they were supposed to use and do, and they did not get very many ways to play other than dump water on them, light it on lightning, or dump oil on them and light it on fire.
Yeah.
Or hit it with a big stick.
Yeah. There's a few new mechanics I really like in the second game. They've really doubled down on kind of the elemental synergy type dealy, so that is a lot more prevalent. So you can continue to dump water on things and light them, or you can dump oil on them and set them on fire, or it'll let them explode, that sort of thing. I'm
pretty sure you could do that in Pillars of Eternity 1. In fact, I distinctly remember doing that to several packs of augers or whatever's out in the middle of the woods.
You can, but it can be very janky as to what it actually considers a good combination.
Yeah.
So now it's just, does your spell have X tag on it? If yes, it will work.
Yeah,
and those tags are clearly visible in the spell descriptions rather than hidden.
That's good. Yeah, that's something that a DM would be able to let slide if you thought it worked a certain way, and you just happen to be wrong in game mechanics. But if your DM understands, I could see how that could work.
Yeah,
you can let it slide.
Let it slide.
But if you're just playing a computer game, you don't have the luxury of having a DM that can sit there and rules lawyer for you on the spot.
Yeah, and video games, unfortunately, for the most part, will not let things slide on the rule of cool.
Yeah, it needs a system in there, so making the system readable is a plus. That was a problem I recall having as well with the first game. Was I was like, will this work? No, that doesn't work.
No, that doesn't work.
It was something that you notice in retrospect, though. Not so much of a problem when you're actually playing, I found.
Yeah, once I went and actually played the sequel where all that stuff is clearly labeled, because how did I even do anything in the first game?
Yeah.
One other system I really like is your companions are all multi-classed. So
okay, good.
What I found, like I'm playing a dual pistol cipher in the sequel. Mm-hmm. You get a companion who is also a dual pistol cipher. So normally you consider, okay, that means this character has absolutely no place in my party. Or, but when you get the character, it gives you a choice. He can be his base, he can be his alternate class, in his case a barbarian, or he can be a combination of both.
That was also the case in Neverwinter Nights.
Yes.
They gave all of the companions multiple classes eventually.
Yeah, they all end up multi-classing.
sometimes you had to go through a quest for them to learn another class, but you could encourage them to develop particular aspects of their class over others.
Yeah.
So you could encourage them to focus specifically on one of their classes to the exclusion of the other if it was inconvenient for you to have a double up or something.
Yeah. So it means that no companion is redundant, which is really good because the Orlan
Bards
who...
are always redundant.
Pardon?
Bards are always redundant.
Except, well, yeah, chances in this game aren't because they become, or they can become a big summoner as one option, or your super duper debuffer. Or buffer, depending on which way you want to go. But the character who would have been redundant for me is the Sailor Orlan. He's a kind of a little furry, kind of hamster man, I guess.
A hamster man.
But he's an absolute joy because he has the dirtiest mouth on him.
Oh, he's a sailor.
Yeah, and he's a full-on pirate. So, yeah. Everyone else kind of has... they try and keep their manners in a lot of the time, or at least they'll try and keep a check on their language. This guy, he just gives zero craps.
Again, he's a sailor.
Yeah. So naturally, his alternate class is Berserker. So I've got him in that role, so as a off-tank. So yeah.
That's cool.
It does not do a whole lot of recapping on the first game. Like, it gives you a basic plot outline, like it's okay, you went and you beat the big bad, and that released all the souls, or whatever on earth you did to the souls at the end of the game. I'd hope you release them in some form, because otherwise you've got the bad end. Well done, you idiot. So yeah, it gives you a quick recap, but it doesn't give you a whole lot of background lore, so you have to relearn all that, if you've forgotten it. Although, you can also pretend that party members who turn up again, you don't know them anymore. So you can choose to act like an entirely new person if you so choose.
Yeah, I think in their blurb for it, they said, like, part of your soul gets damaged when you're, when you're at the start of this game, and that's how they justify you having to relearn stuff.
So the big kind of thing that set off the whole big apocalyptic war that preceded the first game is the god Aethys comes down and he gets all too big for his boots and starts marching on places. So basically the gods get with a bunch of priests and drop a physical and metaphysical bomb on his head. Yeah,
they drop a tactical nuke on the dude.
Yeah, and that's where Durance comes in.
You thought the holy hand grenade was awesome in Monty Python.
Oh,
you ain't seen
nothing
yet.
So, Aethys allegedly dies at that point. They kill a god because gods are killable in this universe.
Well, wasn't he like a incarnation or avatar of that god that some normie had, rather than the actual god himself?
That's a big part of Durance's story, is kind of coming to terms with, what was a god and what was a human. Or Kith, or whatever they call them. So the second game is, the fort you got in the first game has a giant statue made of their magical MacGuffin mineral underneath it. The start of the game starts with that giant statue waking up, tearing itself out of the ground, and going walkabouts, with apparently the soul of Aethys in it.
Well, that's probably not going to end well for you and your party.
Nope, because you're in your keep when it decides to stand up and go walkabout, so you die. Sort of.
Well, this is one of those universes where death
is
stick
flexible.
It sometimes sticks, but only on the right day of the week.
Yeah, just whenever the plot demands it. So, half of your soul you've somehow become a watcher again because of this. The first game is kind of vague as to whether or not you actually lose your watcher powers when they finish it. So, the whole soul steal or soul gazing thing disappears.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently you either got those powers back or they never left in the first place. And so the whole plot is you gotta go chase this statue and figure out what on earth it's up to.
I see.
Apparently it's not actively killing people, but as it walks past, it just kind of sucks people's souls out. So
just kind of
sucks people's souls out.
People's souls out.
Yeah,
It seems like it would be a minor problem that you should account for.
Yeah, when their physical body is reduced to ash, I think you have a problem. That seems like a kind of a permanent death scenario.
Yeah, well, it could be worse. They could be reduced to Gary.
They could be reduced to Gary.
Oh,
That was an awful joke.
saw that one
And I am
coming and-
terrified that I actually got it. Why?
I saw it coming. I knew that it was coming. I just wondered which one of you two idiots would decide that they needed to reveal it to the world.
Just
I'm the champion of bad puns.
yes. That's not a mantle you should be wearing proudly. So yeah, the Pillars of Eternity 2, it's better than the original. A lot better. So I'm not going to make any spoilers because I'm not too far into it anyway. I'm only just kind of getting the base party together. Which so far consists of... I've got 5 people in the party. 2 new characters and 2 old. Incidentally, they're 2 old characters that I got the good ends for. Well, as good as they actually could get, anyway.
That's good.
Yeah. Alright, let me figure out actually what I'm supposed to be doing in this game. I'm just actually looking forward and seeing how far I need to travel in order to open this, or to get my living ship, and it's not even rendering where I need to be.
Yeah, I recall it being very far away.
Yeah, this is going to take a while. What else did I do this week? Kept up with the D&D, but there's not a whole lot really to talk about it because it's kind of a preliminary session that we ended up in. Like, we figured out where the person we're supposed to be finding is. It's just they happen to be at the bottom of an excessively large dungeon. So starting next session, we're going to do what the DM has described as his version of the Tomb of Horrors. I'm not...
The Tomb of Horrors is designed to kill people. It's designed to
Yes.
kill players that get cocky.
It's a joke. Yeah.
And not get cocky during Tomb of Horrors, but got cocky before Tomb of Horrors and need to be punished.
Yeah,
It's
that's...
designed as a punishment module. If
Yes.
it's his version of Tomb of Horrors, if he actually means that, then he's a bad
He's a bad DM. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like you guys have actually done anything deserving of that sort of punishment.
Well, we did, but one player did, but he's gone now. So, yeah, when he said that, we all kind of went,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
That's what...
So, because for those who don't know, the Tomb of Horrors is specifically designed not only to kill the character, but to destroy the character in every aspect, and usually the player along with it. For example, there is a room that if you spend 10 minutes in, you just die.
There's a lot of rooms like that in
Yeah.
Tomb of Horrors.
There's a bunch of passages with a really obscure riddle to it. But, yeah, you just pick the wrong one. There's some passages you won't even find unless you specifically know that they're there, and you have to metagame it to a degree.
Yeah, it's a mess of a module meant to just screw with the players.
Yeah, I think the worst one is it doesn't kill your character, but if you activate a certain trap, your character is gender flipped, alignment flipped. At the DM's description, stripped down to level 1, naked, and dumped at the entrance of the dungeon with the dungeon reset.
It effectively gives you the polar opposite of whatever character you're playing.
Yeah.
And you are still expected to continue playing that character instead of rolling a new one.
Yeah. Like, at that point, that character is no longer the character you made. So, yeah, the Tomb of Horrors is just designed to piss people off. So, I guess if you have a D&D group you don't like and want to get rid of, you can run that as a DM, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably, he just means, I think that I've made a really challenging module.
That's, when we grilled him on it, that's what he more or less said.
Because that's not what Tomb of Horrors is. Tomb of Horrors is not meant to be fun. That's the thing.
No.
The only way it's fun is if you run it just to show it to people how ridiculous this is and don't actually kill the characters.
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of people doing that.
I mean, I did that. I do that with every group I start with.
Yeah. Or they'll do it either with characters that they don't care about, or they'll use their characters, but they just put them on the sideline at the end instead. So,
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
It's an interesting part of history, so I do recommend people do that with their groups.
But
Because
play it as a board game.
yeah,
Don't play it as part of your campaign.
just don't. So yeah, once we grilled him, he kind of we nailed it down that it's a dungeon with really tough fights in it and a bunch of puzzles, but without the sudden death
of horrors like,
jankery.
anyway, because it's not legendary, so I don't know anything about it.
What's that?
what's
Return
not
to
legend?
Death Forest.
Oh, it's a follow up to the story of it because the stupid meme of that thing even existing got so popular. People just kind of attached to it and wanted to know what happened to all the characters that were hinted at in it. So they Return to Tomb of Horrors just continues that. It's supposedly just as hard as the original, but nobody actually knows.
Yeah. So thankfully, I'm lucky. Now that we've got the drama out of the way, our group has kind of stabilized into something that's very solid. Everyone's figured out their roles, and we're all kind of starting to figure out what our characters actually are properly.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, most of the players are either experienced players or I'm probably the newest player in there, honestly.
Okay.
With the least experience. So we haven't had to deal with, the Mercer effect or anything like that. So, yeah, having fun. I will probably have to tell next week whether or not my character got killed.
Yes.
Like,
it did.
Now that I'm figuring out how the actual pugilist class is supposed to work, it's proven to be incredibly tough to kill. Since, provided I've got Moxie, which is basically key, the same basic thing, I can just say, I want more temporary hit points as a bonus action. And when you do that 3 or 4 times in a fight while a zombie is chewing on your face, you can really annoy your DM.
I would imagine, yes.
Yes. We got a level up at the end of last session, just in preparation too, which was nice. So I put a level into Barbarian. So
IMO typically, I reckon that it's usually wise to metagame your GM to the extent that if you're going to do something beardy, don't make it obvious that that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So don't pull out the same trick every fight because the DM is not a retard, typically speaking.
Yeah, if you keep pulling the same trick, he's going to wise up and
so mix it up.
Yeah.
Mix it up.
This is the first time I'd actually pulled that trick where I just keep using the temporary hit points thing because the rest of the party was on the other side of the room fighting zombies.
Or worse, if you're intending to use your strat as a metagame strat, and your DM sees you using it and like, oh, I guess they just really like that playing that way, they'll just account for you always doing it.
Yeah.
So everything will just do plus X damage from then on.
Yeah, like my character gets, as well, I suppose now that it's Barbarian as well, it actually gets a better version of the skill, but you get physical damage resistance. So all the DM needs to say is, okay, that wasn't physical damage, that was like lightning damage. And now you're taking full damage again. Enjoy!
Like there's something that the GM should also avoid doing, but
yeah,
sometimes you've just got to, especially if you've done something really dumb, like give out too powerful a magic item too early in the campaign or whatever.
Yeah.
No DM is perfect. They're gonna make some mistakes somewhere in that vein.
At the very least, sometimes you just need to beat up on a character just to get a bit of tension going.
Yeah, especially if they've been waltzing through the past few encounters, and you're going to need to, ratchet up the sense of threat a little bit.
Yeah, like when a character waltzes up and just decks your tank, that'll get your players to sit up and pay attention.
Yeah, that's even like the introductory modules that Wizard sells for D&D now have usually got that encounter relatively early on, where you will encounter sort of like the mid-boss early on in the campaign, and he will wreck your party and then wander off.
Yeah.
Pretty tactic.
Yeah. So yeah, that I will leave my week there and keep on flying through space because this is going to take a while.
All right.
Vol, what have you been up to, sir?
Nothing.
Yay!
It's been another brutal week at work, and I don't have anything to talk about as a result. It's been one of those weeks, unfortunately, where I've just had no free time to do anything, because by the time I get home, I'm just too tired to do anything. It's been rough. I really can't think of anything, really. It's just been a week of, oh well, and then I did some more work, and then I went home, and then I went to sleep, and then I got up and I went back to work, and I did some more work.
Yeah, still playing Genshin Impact?
As in, I haven't formally quit because I haven't had time to play it enough to quit.
Oh dear.
Like, I would like to play it. But that's just not on the cards, to be quite blunt. I've spent maybe 5 minutes a night playing it, sort of thing. That's about all that I've had time for, and it's been very frustrating, but I can't see a way out of it, really. I don't know, maybe things will stabilize at work once they decide what they're actually going to do, once we've actually got a manager and that sort of thing. But until then, I've more or less just got to hold on and do all of the overflow stuff that I have to do. Unfortunately, it seems like I've been involuntarily placed in the sort of technical linchpin position. So anytime, like, basically my roster on the schedule of what I'll be doing for the week follows the busiest roles as they move around the lab. So if a certain task is going to be really hard on a particular day, you can almost guarantee that I'm going to be the one doing it that day, which means that I just have a late night every single night.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that I can do about it. Because, well, I mean, I'm trained for it, and who else are they going to get to do it? There isn't anybody. Because they all left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would like to play more of Genshin Impact, but I've made virtually zero progress since last weekend on it, because I just haven't had any playtime.
Yeah.
Not been a thing for me.
Okay, I think I've just found something incredibly ominous in this game. A redacted planet.
That's one of the glitch worlds they patched in.
One of the new ones.
Yeah. They're not super new, but they were added in a patch recently-ish. They don't have much on them, but they're cool to go look at.
Yeah, I'll go have a look. Like, I need to go and harvest base elements anyway.
Yeah, there's not really much point in me trying to talk about Genshin Impact anyway, since I can't offer any real information on it, especially not compared to Ari, who has played a unhealthy quantity of it over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
it is a great get home too tired to do anything for realsies game, where you just kind of get home, don't have the energy to do anything at all. So you're like, okay, I guess I'll play Genshin Impact and listen to an audiobook before bed. Mm-hmm. It is such a good game for that.
Unfortunately, that strategy still requires you to have, duration to spend, which I don't.
Yeah, you seem to have been absolutely super swamped at work.
Yeah, I hope it's going to come to an end, but that depends a lot on who gets picked as the new manager. I know that they're near the end of the interview process, so that can't be too far away. But I don't know that for sure. They might pick somebody. That person might decide, actually, I don't want the job after all, and then we'll be back at square one.
Yeah, that's happened too many times.
Yep, and you seem particularly familiar with that course of events, with prospective employees deciding, actually, this job sounds like total balls, and don't want to.
Yeah, thankfully our licensed one hasn't signed off on anything. He's just stuck in bureaucratic hell. But one of our other prospects ended up being a big no-go, so that was fun. He's in a mental institution now.
Oh, jolly good.
Yeah, that's...
You really can pick him, can't you?
Yeah, that's a thing. This planet is weird.
But yeah, so I don't have much to talk about. I haven't really watched much more of the seasonal anime either. There hasn't been time.
There really hasn't been much worth watching.
It's not looking like a great season. It's looking like more of a mediocre season than last season, which was terribly bad.
Yeah.
The isekais are isekais, and it's mostly isekais. So
Bad ones.
yeah. Well, I mean, some of the ones that were bad look at least like they're trying to not be bad, but like they're putting in some effort to try and not be bad, but it's not been very successful. Like the one about the guy who they proceed by dying all the time and then reviving because they all didn't die at the same time. It's turning out over the course of time that story is not really oriented around the isekai element specifically the way it typically is, so much as the fact that the characters, as they get dragged into the other world periodically, their home lives that they periodically return to, since it's not like a permanent isekai. They get isekai'd for the purposes of completing a mission and then they get sent back. Their home lives are pretty screwed up for the most part, or the individuals are seriously dysfunctional in some way. And so it seems to be more like they're headed for a character story. But I can't bring myself to care because the characters aren't likable at all. So yeah, I just don't have much to talk about. I haven't really done anything. It's just been a tiring week all told. I've got I had stuff to do a lot of the time last week, lots of running around to do, more running around to do this week. I dream of a day where it's all out of the way and I can relax for a weekend. That would be nice.
That would be nice. It probably won't happen, but it'd be nice.
Yes. So I don't have much to talk about. So I'll just leave it there. I can't offer anything of particular interest.
All right.
Might as well just plow straight through then.
All righty. So my week, as I mentioned before, I've been coming home incredibly tired and working not all day like Volaso has, but way longer hours than I should. Going in and doing taxes.
Yay!
The person that was like, yeah, it'll be a great idea. Let's make taxes as complicated as humanly possible. And let's not only make them as complicated as humanly possible, let's make them have to repeat all the information they give us across 800 different forms, and then let's double that for a company that does it, and then let's double that for if it's a small family business that does it. Needs to be shot.
Yeah. Behold bureaucracy.
So there's a whole, and you need a CPA helping you with this stuff. And the CPA needs you, the person in charge of getting them the information, to go find it. And sometimes your bank has the information, sometimes a federal website has the information, sometimes a state website has the form you need. Sometimes you need to go dig up your founding date because to the exact hour, because a stupid form on the federal government from the federal government requires it.
Why would they want that?
I don't know why anything anymore.
A bureaucrat somewhere employed.
Yeah, that's probably it. Just someone trying to justify their existence.
Well, that's one of the standard tactics for introducing new money to the economy when you've decided to use money print to go brr as your economic strategy, is to create a bureaucratic job and employ people to fill it.
Even though they don't functionally do anything.
Well, I mean, you make up something for them to do to push paper from one side of a desk to another.
Yeah.
That's typically what...
So yeah, I've been...
employed.
That is very much so what it always feels like whenever I'm filling out these things, is whoever the guy that set it up for, it is not for the benefit of either the government and certainly not for the benefit of the citizen. It is just so some guy has something to do in an office when he's there.
Yeah.
And it's very, very frustrating.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, outside of just, doing your job normally, no. You're kind of stuck, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And there's so I've been fighting with this all week, and I'll get home at like 7 o'clock, do my resin spent expenditure in Genshin Impact, and do my daily commissions, and if I'm not totally dead, I'll do some Spiral Abyss and try to make progress in that, or level up some characters, and that's it. So after, so I can talk about what I have done in Genshin Impact. I have mostly just been dooting along doing the daily and weekly stuff you can do, which does not take very long at all. It takes maybe 10 minutes to zip around the world and do all your commissions if you've unlocked all the teleport points. And it doing your resin expenditure. Once you've got your main damage character leveled up and their talents leveled up, leveling up their abilities with the talents is really, really big, especially their normal attacks and their basic combo.
The amount of Mora required is also really, really big.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you wind up spending days where you're like, when you are looking at the what you need and what's upcoming in the rotations, it is very common to go, well, I guess I kind of need to just spend a whole day dumping literally all of my resin into the Mora plants. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be stuck with no money to do anything. And that in particular is a frustration with the progression system, and that Mora acts as QP does in FGO, for example. It is a currency to just further gate you from doing stuff. And while several games handle that just fine, Genshin Impact has a problem with the raw number of things that require Mora and how much they require for what you're building up to do.
I think that ultimately all of that's ultimately the resin system's fault.
Yeah, I think just this...
You don't get showered in golden apples in this game.
Yeah, you cannot just keep playing if you want to in this game. You
Really,
are...
in FGO, if you really badly needed QP, most people have a well of apples to draw on, and if they really want to, either they're going to save their QP earning for a lotto event, or they're going to burn that QP on doors. I mean, burn those apples on doors, and the door will earn you QP at an appreciably high rate.
Yeah, but resin takes a very, very long time to recharge. 8 minutes per recharge, and to recharge one resin, you are capped at 120 resin, and that never goes up ever. That you are stuck with 120 resin forever. And also, in addition to that, you have the 8-minute recharge per resin point. So it takes practically 20 hours to a full day to recharge that 120. And everything of substance to progress your characters costs an absurd amount of resin for what it gives you. To get like 2 talent books, of which I need 9 for my main damage dealer right now, of that rarity, costs 20 resin per run. And you're on average going to get 2 books per run. 2 blue books per run. So the rewards and the resin costs are at a scaling point where it's totally unfeasible. At world level, whatever I'm at, really high, like 4 or something, you get per gold Mora node you do, which is the equivalent of doing the doors for QP. I get 44,000 Mora exactly every single time, and that is trivial. That is enough to dump EXP books into a character at for about from 40 to 50. That would get you 4 levels worth of EXP books. And not to mention the EXP books themselves start to become a huge problem because you need an absurd number of them to get from 50 onwards.
I feel like they just botched the scaling of them or something, because like the green tier skill pamphlet, it's not even really a book anymore.
It's just to make sure you don't waste the higher tier books. Is all green exists for, from what I can tell. Green
is useful for like levels 1 to about 8. After that, you're just wasting your time, and more importantly, you're wasting more on those. Like, it's forever. But I mean, you keep getting a flood of these things. That never stops.
It does stop eventually when you run out of when you've got most of the obvious common chests. I'm sure I haven't even found close to all of the common chests yet, but
oh yeah, they're everywhere.
But yeah, I have found all the precious chests and luxurious chests. So my income and ability to farm for anything is shot, because while those do respawn, they do not respawn very often.
Mm.
So you need to be paying attention to that and trying to find ways to get more and stuff. And it's just not feasible to keep exploring the world. Like something 10 chests or something silly respawns every day-ish, I think. So you're looking at it could be any of the chests you picked up too, from what I can tell. Nobody's quite sure how the chest respawn works. So getting EXP books period becomes a chore, and getting or to enhance your weapons becomes a chore, because the only real way to get those is through daily commissions, but at least you get those through daily commissions. And then there's the ascension items, which are the real bugbear of everything, because every single character needs a certain number of an epic drop from a world boss that spawns. And the bosses themselves are not difficult, but they cost 40 resin per kill. And you need eventually, like, to get from 60 to 70, you need 8 per character. So you have to burn a whole resin bar to do that.
That's a bit ridiculous.
In fact, you have to burn more than a whole resin bar to do that, because you're usually going to get 1 or 2 per kill. I usually consistently get 2 at the world level I'm at, but that's not a hard and fast rule. So the resin system is horribly unscaled. It is just a broken mess of a system with the scaling it has right now, and it just needs a whole lot of work done to it to get it more in line so that you can actually make progress. That said, for the content that's in the game right now, they've scaled the in-game content accounting for this to a certain degree. They haven't done it perfectly, but it's clear they were thinking about it, because Spiral Abyss right now is the in-game content. Oh, and also, by the way, the weeklies, there are 2 weeklies every week. There's the wolf that you can do each week. You can fight him as many times as you want, but you can only get rewards from him once per week. And yeah, the wolf respawns weekly, and the dragon from the prologue act of the story that you fight at the very end of it respawns once each week. And they have really, really good drops and can drop a whole bunch of essential materials and stuff, but you can only do them once a week, and they cost 60 resin each.
Jeez.
I tried the dragon and got whomped, because every time it breathed its thingy on the platform, I would get completely carbonized.
Yeah, he's
supposed to do about that. But also, it was not an efficient way for me to spend my time. Like, and I'm not talking about your context where you've basically got infinite time to spend in the game. I'm talking about, as far as leisure time goes, the amount of damage that I deal to that thing is so small that there's no real reason for me to fight it. It would just be a waste of all of my leisure time.
Now you can get your friends to come help you on the weeklies, so that's a thing that thankfully you can do. Yeah, and I am because I have to work and actually work long days. I do have to sleep at more normal hours right now, so I'm never online. It seems late at night these days, because I need to get some sleep somewhere. So yeah, what you call it? It's just a really awkward scaling system with the resin, and feeling like you can't make any progress once you start getting your characters up past the first wall. But I did break the first wall. I broke Adventure Rank 35 just by doing dailies, because while you can theoretically farm Adventure Rank forever, you run out of chests eventually. And so you're not moving that Adventure Rank needle up to rank 40 without spamming dailies. It's not happening. You need too much Adventure Rank EXP at past level 37. And unless you burn all of your fragile resin and buy the maximum amount of cash currency recharges you're allowed to do every single day, you're not going to make much progress there. So I am in a position where I'm a little bit stuck with where I can go, but that's okay. There is plenty of stuff to do with the current quote unquote in-game content Spiral Abyss, at least to keep me occupied for a little bit until Trails of Cold Steel comes out, because that's really all Genshin Impact is functioning as for me, is a placeholder until Trails of Cold Steel comes out, because Cold Steel 4 comes out very, very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been very much so looking forward to that.
Is that going to be the final chapter of the whole story, or is it?
It's the end of the Cold Steel arc. Yes. Right. It's the Cold Steel arc is split into Cold Steel 1 and 2, and then Cold Steel 3 and 4, and they are effectively both 2-part stories. And yeah, that is what that is.
Okay.
So Genshin Impact was always for me going to be just the thing I play while I wait on Cold Steel 4. And it's been very good at that, but it also means that I'm just kind of duping around playing it. But Spiral Abyss. What was I going on with this? Okay, so Spiral Abyss is 12 floors of 3 battles each on each floor, or 3 rooms on each floor would be more accurate, I suppose. So for the first 4 floors, it is 1 battle on each room of that floor of Spiral Abyss, and you pre-make the party, and then you go in and you try and kill the enemies as quickly as possible with bonuses for how quickly you kill them, or in some rooms, how much you prevent them from doing damage to an object in the center of the room. Although I've only seen 2 of those. So this is a fun little distraction, and you get a ton of Primo Gems and Mora from doing this. And it's so you are compensated for your efforts put into it very well. But yeah, it takes a lot of practice and work to gear up a party to figure out how to make serious progress past floor 5, because all those stray things you may have pulled from the gacha, you need to level them up. Because past floor 5, each room requires 2 fights, but you have to preset Team 1 and Team 2, and Team 1 will fight 1 fight on each room on a floor, and then Team 2 will fight the following one on each room and a floor. So you need to have 8 characters that you're fairly well keeping up of a diverse mix of elements, especially on floor 7, where everything is a Fatui something with an elemental shield that requires one specific element to counter.
Oh, that... Does it tell you ahead of time what that element is?
You can check what Fatui are coming up and plan without having to go in and write it all down, thankfully.
Thank
but
goodness.
No, you have to know what those things are weak to. If it's got a lightning shield, you need to use ice on it, or that lightning shield is not breaking, period. If it's got a water shield, you need to use lightning on it, or it's not breaking. Stuff. If they're a cryo thing, you need to use fire on it, or it's not breaking. So there's a whole lot of planning and strategy that goes into Spiral Abyss that way. I have cleared with 3 stars all of floor 1 through floor 8. So I've got the Chivo for doing that. So and this is called the corridor. These are consistent every single week and will never change, as far as we know. Past floor 8 is the post level 7 is the 70 plus all the way up to level 100 floors 9 through 12. These do change every week. The bonuses that are applied to them every week change, and their stars reset twice a month. So you can receive rewards from this super high level part of the Spiral Abyss multiple times per month. So twice per month-ish. So that's really cool. And in general, it's a fun thing to just do with your hands. I'm mostly just too tired to think of anything, and if I just want to talk to somebody or listen to audiobooks, it's something to do with my hands. I don't even really pay attention to what I'm doing. Although I have stopped rolling the gacha or even buying Intertwined Fate, because all my Primo Gems, the Primo Gems you get from doing the dailies every day, go right into a resin refill usually. Because the first resin refill each day costs 50 Primo Gems, and that's how many you get from doing your commissions.
How long does the resin tank usually take to fill up on its own, anyway?
About 20 hours.
Ew.
They're going to have to rethink this, because it's going to... The reality is they've made an extremely accessible game for casuals. For people who have as much time to play as me, plus or minus a bit, it's a game with near infinite amount of replayability, because it's going to take you an appreciable fraction of eternity to explore the massive map that they've made. There's no way I'm going to finish exploring this before the next area comes out. Not even close. But the problem is, people who play like that aren't your whales. They're not your leviathans. They're not going to dump money in. And people will become fatigued very quickly if they when they're being mistreated by the resin system like this.
And
They need those people who are ready with their wallets to dump money in, and it needs to be they need to be convinced to do so in a way that is not like obviously screwing them the way resin does.
yeah, and I think I will say this in the game's favor in terms of the resin system. I have made significant progress in the game. Now, I did play a lot last week because I had a lot of free time last week. And because I will zero in on one thing when I have free time and spend all my free time doing that, I made a lot of progress last week. I have not had to spend a dime on the game to get where I'm at, and I am doing just fine as far as following the clear progression curve of stuff to do.
But the thing is that what you've done wasn't supposed to take 2 weeks. Like the way that this content is set up and paced is not to be cleared within 2 weeks, and then you run up against a hard wall of resin. Like
Yeah.
the way it's set up is for a casual player. It just doesn't work for somebody who is going to play at the pace that you are. But what that means, it's not going to work for the pace of the people who are going to play and pay hardcore.
And I think this has become a bigger issue for this game because while it is a valid argument to put forward that the game is a mobile gacha game and this monetization scheme is accepted there, they did not market it as such. They did not sell this just to the mobile market. They sold this as a console game.
I think that you can also easily argue that it's probably the worst gacha in terms of the way that it tries to bleed you of money. Because, I mean, if you compare the amount of free quartz, like, since I last blew my quartz, I've acquired more than 400 quartz again.
Yeah.
I don't do that by paying money. The last time I blew everything that I had all at once would have been Scotty probably.
Yeah, probably.
I blew nearly all my tickets on summer as well. So it wasn't that terribly long ago that I was back down to basically zero, and yet I've managed to build up a humongous, by some standards, war chest for the next event. That's not going to happen with Primo Gems, and the $5 package, that the ticket that allows you to get periodic rewards.
Yeah, daily 90 gems or whatever. That's
not enough to do a one pull for starters. So what that says to me is that the entire deal is to falsely sound like a good deal to get people to crack the seal on their wallet.
And what I've read on the Reddit is people that do buy that thing are instead using the Primo Gems they get daily to spend on resin refills.
Ooh.
Well, because character progression is a thing. This isn't like FGO, where they've got a couple of axes of character progression to work with, and most of them can be easily accessed for free. There's like they really, really, really want you to farm in this game. There's like, I very rarely farm for materials in FGO, despite the sheer amount of time I spend on FGO. It's very rarely that I'm farming particular materials. It's almost always the case that I will just wait till an event comes by that has what I want, and that will be my means for acquiring those materials. Because that's what happens in events, is that you can use event currency to buy large chunks of particular material requirements. That doesn't seem to be the case with the events that they're having here.
No, and people were really, really turned off by the baby event they put out recently at first. People warmed up to it when they realized you don't actually have to spend resin on it. You get all the progress towards the event, what would be the event ladder, just by playing the event. You don't have to actually collect the rewards at the end, because the rewards at the end are garbage. Like, total garbage. It's just EXP books. That's all you get if you spend the 40 resin. And it is only 2 more purple books than normal for just doing a ley line.
I haven't done it at all. I haven't done that at all. As soon as it said they have to queue, which means I have to play with other people, I was like, nah.
It's straightforward. I spent 2 evenings doing 10 runs each. and it was perfectly serviceable for a little mini event. But they need to seriously have some big substantive events that are going to hand out a lot of especially talent books, because it feels so awful wasting your resin on talent books farming because you get so few of them. And
I think that they've attached too many things to too many different kinds of rather onerous farming. It's a poor strategy if you want people to keep playing long term rather than become ultra fatigued ultra quickly, which is what looks like what's going to happen.
yeah, and I have very much so enjoyed my time the week during last week I had the main game to play and was doing the exploration stuff. So I was engaged and enjoying the game then just fine for that stuff, but anytime I had to do the in-game stuff, it was a groan. This week when I've had significantly less free time and because of taxes, I have had a much better experience just going through the game and playing the two-ish hours I can play every day with it, and then logging off after that. And in the few days I did have time, I made a lot of progress in Spiral Abyss with the upgrades I got from just having to wait the days out effectively. So yeah,
with Spiral Abyss, I think Spiral Abyss could probably afford to have some like unique enemies or something.
Yeah,
rather than being slimes and hillachills from here until eternity.
They do need to work on enemy variety, and they thankfully have found ways to make the later floors of Spiral Abyss more interesting. For instance, in floor 8-2, 8-2 is notoriously difficult to get through on the Reddit, along with 7-1 to get 3 stars in. It's got little nodes on the ground that pulse an element type, cryo for the first fight and fire for the second on 8-2. And this will apply a buff of that element to all enemies, and unless you hit them with the opposite element to deactivate the buff, their attacks hit super hard, they can't be hit stunned, and they become a challenge. So even something like just a crossbow hilichurl that shoots a spread shot becomes a huge problem if it's left alone with that buff on, because it's going to accidentally clip you with something and chunk off like a whole quarter of your health. So there are ways they go to mix it up, but enemy variety is something they really need to work on, because you can only do hilichurls so much.
Yeah.
It's all hilichurls all day, every day, all the time.
All right. Anything?
So yeah. What's our time like? We're at an hour.
Yeah, we're at an hour.
Do we have enough news to jump right into it? Because I can talk a little bit about PSO2 if we need to fill time.
It's going to be a pretty short week otherwise, so you might have to.
Okay, I'll time fill with it. So I don't have too terribly much to talk about other than in PSO2, because I've been mostly spending my solo free time playing Genshin instead of doing anything in PSO2. But they have released the next patch for episode 5. And now we have chapter 4 of the story, as well as the urgent quest that they were hinting at coming out, the Big Dragon. And they're getting more creative and interesting with their urgent quests to keep you engaged while you're doing them. So I was very happy with that. And this one, you don't take control of anything like a AIS or something silly. You instead... Oh, hang on, I died. Instead, you fight a big dragon on a castle, and it has weak points, and you have to... Swords will drop throughout the fight. And 3 people have to be the guy that says, I'm going to take responsibility and pick up the sword and try and build up a meter with it to unleash the big attack to do damage to the weak points on the dragon.
Oh, that always ends well.
Are people competing to do that or competing not to?
There will inevitably be at least 1 or 2 guys that knows what they're doing, and 1 or 2 guys that are just picking it up going, ooh, what's this?
Ooh, shiny.
Because it's a new thing. So you can imagine how that goes.
Poorly.
It's a clown show, yes.
Yes.
But it's a fairly fun emergency quest. They have the Halloween event going on right now, and like Beach Wars, it comes with an urgent quest that is, well, it doesn't have a boss. Well, it does have a boss at the end. They took the boss from the challenge miles that nobody ever gets to see because it's in the freaking challenge miles.
Nobody ever sees it because nobody ever makes it there.
Idea was challenge miles.
Yeah, so the challenge the challenge quests have a few special, unique enemy types that show up as automata that you don't normally get to see. So for the Halloween event, normal people have gotten to see them. Only reason I know about them is because I got incredibly lucky with one group that knew what they were doing way better than I did, and was really nice in helping me figure out what to do so that I could get the quest done for doing or the Arcs mission done for doing challenge quests.
That'd be nice. Every time I've tried Challenge Miles, you just end up with a bunch of screaming lunatics.
No, I had a guy that was just all in yellow, and his status was yellow as best color, and he was a real nice dude. He was a genuinely cool person, and
Nice.
and explained all the questions I had in text chat in complete sentences with punctuation and everything.
With punctuation?
I know.
No, you've taken it beyond the realm of feasibility now.
So yeah, I've been playing a little bit of this. They have an event this weekend going on, which I didn't get to take advantage of because I was out doing yard work today, where you get 300% urgent quest bonus experience, drop rate, and Meseta. So yeah, there's a lot of incentive to do the urgent quest. They've put several more difficult versions of the older urgent quests up as well. There's apparently a retuned version of the boat that is scaled up to high level play. So that's come out, and it's a totally different fight in Phase 1 and Phase 2 with much more difficult trash, namely the Vegas trash with the sniper bunnies and the UFOs. And it's hilarious to watch some guy inevitably be the guy that's targeted by all of the snipers at once just get deleted.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do if all the snipers target you at once. You're just done.
So that's fun to watch. And then there's and then the boat itself is totally different with different spots to attack the boat during Phase 1 and like 800 missiles that spawn in Phase 2 of the boat fight when you break his stuff.
Do you still have to use the mecha?
Yeah, but the fun part is there are so many more missiles. If not everybody doesn't know what they're doing, the missiles aren't going down.
Oh dear.
And you're all gonna die. So it's a interesting version of the fight. It's only available when Iron Kazuichi Assault is up or something, and you are level. I think it requires minimum level 75. So subclass as well to do it. So they've got that up, and that's a fun one. And then I haven't played the main story yet because it's not finished. So I'm not super gung ho about jumping right in and clearing the new chapters. Yeah, and this is an issue with releasing these things in parts like this. I think episode 5 is coming out in 2 or 3 parts, where I'm like, yeah, I could do the story and maybe unlock a few things, but it just is like I don't want to because the story's not done.
I mean, normally I don't find it's a big problem with MMOs where they release a story in bits. It's just that it's being released in bits, but it's also at a rapid pace.
Yeah. So you're getting... Well, that would normally correct the problem. We have the problem in this game where them releasing it in the manner they're releasing it means it doesn't matter for the middle and the start of the story. Now, you do have to do episode 5 story, initial bits immediately, at least the introductory chapter to unlock Buster Quests and Dark Blast.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a thing.
Yeah.
And also, a new expedition came out, or exploration expedition that you can do.
Neat. The
Enchanted Forest.
Oh my.
This is nothing like what we've been doing before. It is practically a open field with just an open field and then a boss door and on some end of it. But the attraction here is world bosses spawn all the time in this thing. In this expedition. The place is just covered in them. You take 5 steps and a new boss will spawn.
Sounds like a good way to farm boss mats.
Yeah, well, you don't need mats so much as drops, but yeah, you can get experience doing it. And you can get story bosses you haven't encountered yet, as we found out. We got a super hard apprentice spawn, Dark Falls Apprentice, that was a humanoid version. And it took... Me and Abel were beating on that thing for like 20 minutes. and we were at level appropriate. And it wasn't until 12 people got there that it died 10 minutes later. And it turns out that you apparently fight this thing in the story at some point, because when we got back on our ship, it unlocked Dark Val's Apprentice, and we went and looked it up later. It's like, oh, if you beat it in the expedition or the story mode, you get it. So that was interesting. And there are now Omega versions of all the old bosses on this area, because Omega is a special planet. The planet's actually called Omega. It's not just a prefix for all the names of stuff. So, and yeah, in general, it's a good update. It's more PSO2, and that makes it hard to parse or recommend to people that are currently disenchanted yet, because until episode 6 starts coming out, a lot of the problems that most folks have had with the game just are not going to be alleviated. There's no two ways about that, I don't think.
Yeah.
So just hanging on for episode 6 to eventually come out, so we can start making a bit more meaningful progress instead of just waiting six weeks for the next catch-up mechanic to be implemented because we're on the next patch.
Yeah, I think that's the big...
I figure that when I come back, by the time I come back, the leveling speed will have increased by such a staggering amount that there just doesn't seem to be much motivation for me to try and grind my levels up on my classes at this stage. Because I'm sure it'll just get faster and faster over time.
Oh yeah, and they're giving out way more bonus keys than they did while the game was in JP.
Yeah, I can understand that. It just feels like at the moment, because they're releasing everything at such a high rate, it just, whatever you do doesn't matter at this point.
It can give off that vibe.
Yeah.
For some pieces of gear, you can thankfully progress your units and your rings now, and those will be useful all the way until where we're currently at in JP. So you're starting to get stuff that will be meaningful, but you won't be able to do the most important stuff like whoops
what is I just accidentally jumped straight into my frigate.
Oh, I thought something was wrong with the stream for a second.
No, that's just a bug that they never actually fixed with this game. Actually, I got free.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to what they keep doing with the game, and just hope that when we finally get episode 6, everything's up to snuff and is fun to play.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't work out well, you've got PSO2 2 on the horizon, which looks really good. At least it's like it's the same basic game, but not by the look of it.
Yep. So, also, while they will be updating the drops of Enchanted Forest, it is basically the final in-game expedition everybody's stuck with until PSO2 2.
Right.
So that's why you can get everything there, I guess.
Yeah. So, we're starting to get there. At the first patch in episode 6, we'll be able to make serious, meaningful progress on things like weapons and units.
Yeah, and I think once that drops is when I'll come back, and that'll probably be another month or two.
Are we going to be so close to PSO2 2 that it's not going to be worth doing, though? That's the question.
Maybe.
I guess they've told us that they've got this roadmap where they're going to update classic PSO2 with the new engine and so on and so forth, and then they're going to release the sequel game and run them in parallel. But what are we looking at on that roadmap, though? Are they going to be running in parallel development, or is one going to be virtually in maintenance mode? Like how we don't really know what's going to happen.
There's a lot of stuff that they haven't answered.
Yeah, I've been burned by starting enough MMOs that went poorly in the past that I'm very hesitant to go all in on anything anymore.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have the time for it. Back when I was in university, I had plenty of time to dick around in the afternoon. Now I don't. I need to pick something where any accrual that I do will matter.
Yeah. Have to adult now.
Oh, sucks balls, man.
I know, right?
Yeah. So
maybe Ari and I can get famous with our political show.
The reception so far has been really good, guys. So keep telling us what you think and tell your friends about it or something.
Given it's YouTube, I think the best you can hope for is Infamous.
Well, with the way things are currently going and how Silicon Valley managed to tick off the U.S. government again.
Oh boy, didn't they?
Oh, that may change.
Yeah, yeah.
They done did a do so bad this past week that we may see some serious legislation changes coming in regards to our overlords at Silicon Valley.
Yeah. And they're not going to like it one bit.
I'm astonished that they were so transparent about it.
Yeah, there wasn't any attempt about it. It was just complete blatant.
To at least pretend like they're not just crooked.
Yeah.
But they didn't make any attempt to hide the fact that, oh no, we are just going to interfere with the election because
Reasons.
we can do that. We are sufficiently powerful that we can completely undermine the press apparatus of a major country.
I can understand Twitter thinking that, but Reddit has fallen so far from grace and is dropping in popularity daily that I don't know why they explicitly said they intend to interfere with the election and were proud about it, but they did.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Did they actually say that?
Yeah.
Oh, joy.
Their CEO said, we have the ability to interfere with the election.
So we're going
to. And we should. And they should. And they clearly do. They manipulate the trends page.
Oh, that's all sorts of illegal.
Well, the thing is that they're drunk on their interpretation of the First Amendment. And, you can make a First Amendment case for that.
Mm.
But the problem is that all you are really doing in practical terms is you're opening yourself up for a heaping serving of I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And by help, I mean break up your business.
And possibly your legs.
Well, yeah, if that's what you're going to do. But yeah, the First Amendment was, in part designed to protect political speech. It's true, but it wasn't designed to give people an apparatus to curtail other people's political speech.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the arguments you hear about why the censorship is okay are always really funny because they're always really dumb.
Yeah, I'm sure that those arguments worked really well for the likes of, Bell and the rail companies and stuff.
Yeah, well, it wasn't political speech so much as...
But it's the same principle. It's what's going to happen. That's the tool that the federal government uses to stop the stuff when they've decided that it's against federal interests.
Yeah, and so they done did a do. They goofed pretty bad with this one.
Mm.
So it's for those that don't know, that everybody went on a mass censorship spurg this weekend, and over a particular post in the New York Post, a particular story, and it didn't go over so well for the people in the Silicon Valley apparati, higher echelons, because they knee-jerked so hard that they wound up banning prominent figures, and that didn't go over well at all.
Yeah, and a lot of their justifications were very thin, and also not at all true in a lot of cases.
This happened because we didn't stop them when they banned Alex Jones, and so now it's the New York Post, who've been in operation for 200 years or something?
Give or take.
Yeah. Those of us that were fighting were just not. We did not have enough oomph to get them sufficiently called out to stop the Alex Jones banning and get the message out that slippery slope is real, folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is relevant to gaming. We'll probably talk more about the political ramifications on the political show at some point. But
you should.
But it's relevant to gaming in the way that anime and other media as well, I guess. For the reason that all of our stuff is in tech and is in some way tied either directly or indirectly to these big tech companies. So if they can't censor stuff anymore, it's probably going to have a whole lot of ramifications for what we can and can't have published and get trending.
I think that on a cultural level, it's also going to have an effect, because I think that the way we're headed, we're going to see the end of accessibility. Like there are a lot of people who are calling for, okay, we need to go back to gatekeeping our hobbies, because if you don't, you get these interests who corrupt them for entirely political ends.
We got to fix it.
Yeah.
So you're going to start seeing hobby purity tests coming back, because it used to be that people would try and get as many people as possible involved with their hobby,
which used to be a really good thing.
But now you have to exclude people because a lot of those people are not there in good faith.
Yeah. And it's going to get to a point where things like tabletop RPGs, your girlfriend is not allowed to come if that's her only qualification, because that is a lot of the reason we got where we're at now with some of these hobbies is somebody's boyfriend or girlfriend that isn't a real fan of the hobby but has a serious political bent because people date crazy people too much, got into the hobby. So, yeah.
And it's all the way through development now. It's all the way through localization now. All of these systems have become degenerate. And I mean that in every sense. In every sense.
Yes, like the recent one was D&D having races that no longer have negative ability scores on them because they don't want to offend people.
Because they think black people are orcs. Let's just come right out and say it.
I'm not saying that. I am not going to say that.
The people developing that game associate people who have dark skin with bestial berserker type monster races. That's how they think. That's the only reason, is if in your mind you tie those two things together. That's the only way to draw that conclusion. Nobody thought that orcs were representative of any real world race until those people came along.
No, orcs were
Because
orcs.
that's how they think.
So yeah, that's an argument that's gonna go horrible, I think.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Well,
Not sure what they thought kobolds were.
It's sort of like the joke about how when I think it was a joke that Gabe from Penny Arcade told in a podcast, was that he'd bought a device, a toy for his child back when his child was very young. Goodness knows how many years ago. This would have been about 12 years ago or something now. And it was a caterpillar that had the letters of the alphabet on its legs.
Okay.
And you could press them and it would say the letter. And then when you completed a word, it would say the word. And he sat there with this thing for 20 minutes trying to get it to say the foulest things that he could think.
As you do.
And every time it got to the end of he finished spelling the absolutely vile word that he was attempting to get this toy caterpillar to say, it would just giggle and say, hee, that tickles, instead of saying the word. So his reasoning was then that this must mean that in their development team, there is this one guy who is just foul, who has an absolute foul mouth, and nobody likes this guy, but they've got to keep him around because they need somebody who knows all of the most horrible words to supply them to the team so that they know which words to censor for this caterpillar. And ultimately, that's what these woke development companies have become like for tabletop, for video games, for everything. The only reason that they can see this racism everywhere is because they are that foul, evil person. They know all of the horrible things, all of the dark thoughts. They just assume that everybody else is having them as well, and that if they lash out at them hard enough, people will assume that they didn't have them.
Projection.
Yeah, projection is a concept I did not put a whole lot of weight into until I started seeing the way these infiltrators behave.
Over the past month or so, I've started seeing the left directing that accusation at the right more and more often. And ironically, it's almost always recursive projection when they do it.
Yeah.
Like the examples they give of right-wing projection is almost always actually just an analogy for a certain article of left-wing projection that they are presently engaged in.
Yep, sounds like our friendly neighborhood Democrats doing that. But yeah, we have a political show for most of the politics stuff. I just wanted to point it out because it came up and it might be relevant to media and entertainment.
Leftism poisons everything, and it's in our video, in our tabletop, in our CCGs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wargaming has been particularly poisoned by it over the past few years.
Oh, that whole thing not long ago with Warhammer saying, if you don't agree with us, get out.
Yeah, and they're engaged in a legal dispute with one of the major YouTubers and that
Again.
because they're delusional. It's that's simply all there is to it. They're delusional. There is a world taking place between their ears, and they see the real world as participating in that vision, and it's not the case. They what they know what they know, but what they know just ain't true, as Reagan liked to say. So yeah, it ain't so. They are fighting against ghosts in their imagination. They created them. All of the racism they're fighting only exists between their own ears. And they've got to make sure that they mire everybody's hobbies in it. They can't stop themselves. And so we get all of this bizarre forms of censorship. It's not, they don't even censor things that might actually have, some sort of repercussions on people. Like, they're not focusing on the traditional things that people would debate over, like, well, this particular violence is very explicit. Is immersing yourself in that going to be have a negative effect? Shouldn't we put warnings and advisories and censorship around that? And whichever side you come down on that issue, there's at least a lot of data to back that up. And then, you see the people like the people from NetherRealm that worked on Mortal Kombat having to take a leave of absence for mental health because they subjected themselves to too much hyperviolence for too long, and it sent a lot of them around the bend.
Yeah,
like so there are arguments and discussions to be had. The issue is that this is not about arguments or discussions about things that exist in the real world or actually have implications on anything.
Yeah,
it's just these fantasies, these lurid fantasies of being a crusader against racism that they're drunk off of.
Yeah. Even though the battle has already been won, or basically everything, the wheels are set in motion to completely eradicate a lot of the stuff that they're campaigning against. All it will take is time.
Yeah, it's like the KKK still does exist. That's a thing.
It does.
There's like 300 of them in a country of like 400 million people.
Yeah,
and they all are in Stone Mountain.
Yeah.
Like, does anybody who know where the KKK was if they didn't know that I lived in Georgia and happen to know it as a bit of trivia for my state?
Nope, they wouldn't.
Like, that's the only reason everybody that I talk to knows that the KKK is at Stone Mountain.
Yeah. If you're really concerned about racism, you should not be looking at the modern West for it. Like, the Chinese are famous for it.
Mm-hmm.
They put up signs on their McDonald's a while back saying that no black people were allowed.
Yeah, actual racism still exists, and you're not going to find most of it in the States.
Yeah, it's just they're engaged in some sort of weird form of cultural war.
There seems to be also the strange expectation that you can just change things overnight if you scream loud enough.
Well, the thing is that to me, it's just an exercise of power. Like they aren't actually interested in changing anything. They're interested in being seen to be exercising power, to be exercising influence, to be doing something that builds them social points with their friends and people's opinions that they at least temporarily value, and it gives them the thrill of being able to exert their will over somebody else, and that's really all I think that it is.
Which actually comes back to a point I saw a YouTuber make a couple of months back. They were doing just, some of the most influential games in history. Their number one pick was Twitter. And that's basically what it is. It's scoring points on Twitter.
Yeah, well, Twitter's existence has bent people's perception of the real world.
Bent and snapped in a lot of cases.
It's had a very. That's why they're throwing their weight around so much during these elections, is because they've got these delusions of. Number one, they've got delusions of outsized influence, and number two, they actually do have outsized influence. They just don't keep it quite as much as they think they do. So they are able to cause significant problems. However, they are not tethered to the real world in any real sense.
No.
What influence they have is the influence people bring out of Twitter and export to the real world. And you can see its effects in countries that are drunk on similar ideals, like New Zealand, for instance, like the media's perceptions of the world outside are imported from Twitter. Like they during the election coverage last night, they were talking about how the National Party was getting destroyed and so on, because they did get destroyed. Of course, it was always going to happen. They were disorganized. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know who they were. They ended up getting like 26% of the vote or something.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a
That's
massacre.
bad.
But they went on about how, I mean, the National Party has been disorganized, and that's why they've suffered a loss like this, but at least they're not as bad off as Donald Trump. They actually think that Donald Trump has the support of less than a quarter of the voting population of the United States. But where do they get this impression? They get it from Twitter. They get it from social media. They have imported what they've seen on social media into their worldview for the real world, and they can't see the difference. All of the things that the puritanical minds of yesteryear thought that gamers were subject to, about not being able to tell the difference between video games and reality, all of that now exists, except it's in the elite class, the Twittering class. Those people, they can't tell the difference between social media and the real world.
Yes.
And the people on social media are dimly aware of this, which is why they are willing to say such outrageous lies and falsehoods about topics, both directly and indirectly. So you have, practical lies like the very fine people lie, and then you've got broader scope lies such as Western civilization is irretrievably racist and needs to be entirely destroyed. Like, those are lies, they're obvious lies, but if you tell them on Twitter, people will just import them straight into their worldview because they can't tell the difference between Twitter and reality.
Yeah. Anyway, we kind of got off tangenting into the weeds a bit there.
Indeed. We should probably head on to a break.
We probably should.
All right, folks. Here is some music. We will be right back after this. And we're back.
Yes, indeed.
So,
Right.
do we have any emails to read?
We do not. So that's a shame.
All right. Well, let's just jump into the news, I guess.
There's a few little things that happened during the week.
Yeah, Vol did most of the news dump. Do you have anything that in particular that jumped out at you, Vol?
I was a bit perturbed by the Sony thing.
Oh, they're totally not watching you. Honest.
Yeah, for realsies.
For realsies.
Yeah. Now,
well, I think that this is a bridge too far. Like, this is not necessary. I don't give a toss about your sodding code of conduct. All right.
Because it's about as worthless as the paper it's written on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Sony put out a presser basically saying that our new PS5 system will not spy on you.
Yeah, so there's a problem with that in this day and age.
Yes, it's called lies.
And there's a double problem because Sony USA is incredibly politically motivated and left-leaning, and so they participate, or their employees almost certainly participate in some form of cancel culture or another. So them having access to my voice logs is not something I am 100% on board with, to say the least.
Just because they claim that, oh, we're not going to listen to what you're saying, we're not going to retain all of your stuff. Is there not some I thought that there was some law that varies by state that determines whether or not you need consent in order to record something somebody says?
Yes, but precedent is held that's only in the instances where somebody has like a video recorder in their hands or something.
Well, so if you wiretap somebody against their will, they're totally allowed to do that?
I think they've tried it in some of these states, but it would vary state by state on what precedent has been upheld for this type of law, because each of the laws are slightly different. It's a complicated legal question because it's a state law question where many states have the same type of law, but those laws' individual details are different.
Right. Well, I mean, and the other thing is, to what extent does an end user license agreement balk your rights?
Historically, they have not had much power or ability to work in towards usurping your rights as a consumer. The government effectively goes, "Oh, you have an end user license agreement? That's cute."
Yeah.
And just does not let them fly if they're doing something too egregious.
I know that the Australian Consumer Rights Commission in particular has been very aggressive.
Oh yes, I just run out of toilet paper. Thank you.
So yeah, I'm not too concerned about end user license agreements being the issue here ever in something like this. Just because
that's going to be their first defense, though, right? When people say, "I don't want you tapping my conversations," is that, oh well, you agreed to let us do that when you signed the end user license agreement.
Yes, but it's an agreement that you probably didn't read and have absolutely no power to negotiate.
Yeah, so what you find in the US is the end user license agreements will protect the company from very minor lawsuits, but if they violate some consumer rights or some Federal Trade Commission, something or other, then generally speaking, those things do not succeed in being very effective at protecting the company from the damages the lawsuit will incur.
Yeah.
If it may make settlement prices go down a bit by putting leverage on the customer that it could, but generally speaking, they don't.
Right, because I know that there have been laws and stuff in the US that I've heard discussed at various points where there's different, depending on your state, there's different numbers of parties and people on different ends of a conversation are required to consent in order for a recording to be made and retained and that sort of thing. I remember hearing about that. And in some states, it's only one person, only the recorder need consent to the recording. One of the parties enough, and somewhere both have to agree and that sort of thing. So
Some
I
of
don't
them
know
ties into the actual usage of that data.
if you're basing your wiretap station in a state that means that you're the only one that has to consent. Does that mean that you can then record people from anywhere?
It would go to. It would probably, because the recording was done in California, be a California state issue, and I do not know what their law says. Although I could see a lawyer arguing it for being in favor of the client's home state if the client's home state is more agreeable to prosecuting people for not being a two-party consent recording state.
I mean, and in the US where this is going to be most applied, like what exactly is the level of protections on privacy? Like, could somebody, escalate this if they decide that this is absolutely not on, and I've got the money to back it up, type of thing?
Yeah.
Do you
Like, everything
think
I think would be arguable.
Yeah, because I think that this is the sort of thing where one person taking exception with it at a high enough level could escalate this all the way to precedent-setting lawsuit.
Yeah, it could. That is a definite possibility with something like this.
But yeah, I don't like your code of conduct. I don't know what it says, but I already don't like it because it's called a code of conduct, and anything called a code of conduct is almost invariably bad and set up by a tin pot dictator of some kind. So I just don't have any interest in ever using Sony's voice service now. Like, I already didn't use it. Now I definitely don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how many gamer words must be said on a daily basis across that system?
Probably quite a few, considering that it is a gamer voice chat system.
Yeah, I have always been quite amused by the transition of things such as ethnic slurs to being referred to as gamer words.
Yeah. How did that happen?
I always thought that was pretty funny too. I was a fan.
Oh boy. Did you want to mention the ADL thing?
I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, somebody else.
It's the same thing that they've done in the past. The Anti-Defamation League has reared its ugly head and has brought a bunch of game developers on board to a massive program to curtail toxic gamer behavior.
Yeah, the anti-defamation.
That whole chestnut.
Is the ADL the one that was set up to originally to try and fight against anti-Semitism and has just turned into a left-wing apparatus?
Yep, they're also the ones that said, while we do not agree with the KKK, we will defend their right to say what they say. Or something of that nature. They're the ones that made that a popular phrase and when talking about free speech.
It's a good phrase, that one.
Yeah, like, I do not like what you have to say, but I will defend you to the death for your right to say it, or something like that.
Yes.
Well, that's one of those ones that's always misattributed to Voltaire or something, isn't it?
Or something.
I think so.
Someone like that, yeah. So, we've done this merry-go-round before. It's going to be a whole lot of smoke and mirrors, and it will ultimately go nowhere. We might get another, bully hunters tier laugh out of it.
Yeah,
I think Bully Hunters was a scam from the outset.
Oh, it was. It was transparently a scam.
It was never intended to function the way that it claimed it was going to.
But, oh boy, was it at least hilarious when it all fell apart.
It was. It was really funny to watch that thing turn into a total train wreck.
The grift was not very strong with that one.
No, it was not.
I need to collect one portion of dandelion seeds, but I've been walking around for ages now and I can't find dandelion seeds. What do they look like?
They're three little glowy baubles on top of stems. You can find a bunch of them. They're just outside Mondstadt, like the walls of the city.
Yeah, there's like a whole bunch running near the gate.
I know. I've been trying to interact with them. It didn't work.
Oh,
use wind
abilities on them. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to blow the dandelions.
Right, I understand. But I do actually like that about the game, that you actually have to use your elemental abilities to interact with things for such goals. But because I'm used to not being able to do that, I often don't see the obvious solution until it's presented to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. So the only other bit of note about this ADL thing is all the comment sections on articles about it have been particularly cancerous.
Well, yeah, it's the ADL. Anything they're involved with is going to have a political bent to it, just by its nature. So you're going to get the usual suspects out in force doing their tomfoolery.
Yeah, just got to be careful because I think a lot of the people who are out and campaigning openly and loudly against the social justice movements and things like that are very much in danger of becoming that which they campaign against.
Oh, I don't think there's any illusion that any true blue anti-SJW is not a total dick waffle.
Yeah.
Like the most fervent of the fervent are definitely that, but they do not care.
There are also a lot of groups there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the more operative point is they have an end goal: get these people out and make sure they don't come back. So I'm not too terribly concerned with them saying naughty words on the internet.
Yes.
Realistically, I'm just not that concerned with naughty words generally. Like, what do they harm usually?
Yeah, it's not the naughty words. It's just the standing up and shrieking until whatever you're shrieking against has gone away.
Well,
generally speaking, though, I mean, look at the objective of, let's say you decide that gamer words are evil, and let's say that the gamer words actually come from a place of racism. Like they're not saying that to be edgy and trying to drag somebody online. They're saying it because it comes from a place of genuine racism. If you then suppress people from discussing their actual views, do you think that they become more bitter and virulent, or do you think that the racism goes away?
Oh no, it definitely becomes more bitter.
Yeah. So there is no downshot to them winning in any particular online spat fight.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. Speaking of all this nonsense, should we quickly touch on the funny news?
Which funny news?
One I just quickly wanted to mention because I just find it incredibly satisfying. Movie Bob got sacked again.
What do he get sacked from? Does he self-employ?
No, well, yes and no. He was contracted with the Escapist.
Yeah, he had a contract with the Escapist website.
Escapist, yeah.
It was he's had contract with them for a long time in the past, and then he stopped for a while, and then he came back.
He got sacked for a while, you mean?
Yeah. He's one of the internet's most spectacularly comically toxic people. Like he's not toxic in the sense of him actually poisoning anything, because nobody can take him seriously enough to be poisoned by him. But he's a deeply distorted and unpleasant person. But for some reason, he was still able to have a show. Although apparently his channel growth has been stagnant for years.
Yeah, it's because his old guard, I guess, hasn't really noticed him getting super toxic.
Well, it's more he's just been around forever.
Yeah.
He holds every single view that is held by the National Socialist Party of Germany circa 1930s.
Yes.
Like, he has all of those views.
He said if there was a really awful hot take out there, he's either been the one who had it or he's completely agreed with it.
He's the most anti-Nazi Nazi on the planet. It's really funny.
Yeah.
He's even got a buzz cut. Like, the man looks like a fat neo-Nazi, and everything that he says is about like transhumanist futurism and how great it will be when we can eugenically remove all the undesirables from society.
Oh, I forgot about the eugenics thing.
He's the most psychopathically Nazi person on the planet, but he thinks that he's a freedom fighter.
Yeah, he's. I know him for his Twitter and for what he says.
His very, very spicy takes.
Oh, spicy indeed.
Somewhere there is a cadre of neo-Nazis who just loves his takes. because they're all 100% red meat to edgy teenage neo-Nazi types. He doesn't know it though. He thinks that he's on the side of freedom.
Oh yeah, he lost his marbles years ago, around the Gimagorts time.
No, he'd lost his marbles long before that. He's just the result of what happens if you actively avoid growing up in any respect. He's a child.
He's child.
Yeah, he is the clearest example of what you might call a man-child that we have these days, I think, from what I've seen on his Twitter. The boy just... he's hilarious to look at his Twitter stuff for, because he's just so dumb.
Yeah. The Escapists, I think, put up with him for a long time because he does rake in a fair bit of money.
Yeah, I don't understand why. Like,
I don't know why.
Maybe his traffic does come from neo-Nazis, for all I know.
I know the Farms watches like everything from him, period, because they think he's hilarious.
Oh, that's what it is then. It's ironic watches.
Because they think he's hilarious.
I mean, he is the classic lolcow.
But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what caused it, but the Escapists, I guess, finally has had enough and decided not to renew their contract.
So, movie Bob.
They may as well just rename their website Yahtzee and Friends, at this point, but still.
Yeah, Yahtzee's the only personality I ever remember actually works for that outlet. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the only one anybody really watches, I think.
He is.
I don't know. Did Jim Sterling do any time with them?
Yes, he did a bit of stuff alongside them, and even did a few crossover things with Yahtzee.
Yeah, he's also a twat, but
he's right sometimes. But
I think that he's right in the way a broken clock is.
Yeah. Like every now and again, he will raise an interesting point, but.
I think that when he does raise an interesting point, I don't think I've ever encountered him raising an interesting point that wasn't raised by somebody else first in a more interesting way.
I'll agree with that, yeah.
Even when he raises an interesting point, he usually proceeds through to the absolute wrong conclusion from there.
Yes, like that's the same thing I find with Beanie Man too. He'll start with an interesting point, and he kind of takes a wrong turn somewhere along the way.
Beanie Man.
He's also absolutely in love with his own intellect.
Yeah, and his own character as well, which is kind of annoying.
He has that stupid hat.
I don't mind the stupid hats. Well, yeah, so does Beanie Man. But I don't mind stupid hats. Stupid hats are fine. But, yeah.
I also like how you pronounce Beanie Man.
The Beanie Man.
Oh my goodness. The Beanie Man.
He's evolved from Beanie Man to Beanie Man. Yeah. Like, I don't mind watching people who I openly disagree with, or I kind of agree with, but not really, or think they're stupid for going that particular direction with it. But yeah. When you do it too often, like every now and again, you've got to have something you complete in their timeline that you can completely agree with.
Yeah, I won't. I watch the Beanie Man by saying I watch the Beanie Man, but I don't watch the Beanie Man to watch the Beanie Man. I watch the Beanie Man as a proxy for what another group that is radically different from me thinks like.
Yeah.
Why not watch the Young Turks?
No.
Because I don't want to kill myself at the end of the day.
Yeah, how about no?
But Machink.
Yeah, no. Like, at least, like, as much as I do disagree with Beanie Man on a lot of things, he does still live on planet Earth.
Chink.
He ran for some kind of public office recently.
Yeah, but he ran for some. I think he ran for like Senate or something, or Congress. One of those. I don't know how it works. He ran for a seat that there was no way that he could possibly win.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got BTFO'd for something that was really funny, though. Totally wrecked his campaign even before the electorate turned out.
Yeah. Anywho, we should talk about some video games on this video game show.
Yep. What have we got?
Let's see. Where was I?
Alright.
Okay, I can do this one because it's Oculus and Facebook.
Oh, yay. Go for it.
So, if you have an Oculus headset, do not buy any subsequent Oculus headsets. Your next VR headset should be literally anything else on the market. Because
yes.
it has come out with a Facebook VP of VR, making sure to tell users that they need to be sure their Facebook accounts are in good standing before buying an Oculus Quest headset. Because apparently, once they force you to link your Oculus account to your Facebook account, if your Facebook account isn't in good standing, you can't use it. You can be banned.
Oh, joy. So if you've said some naughty words, then you can't use your rather expensive piece of hardware you just purchased.
Gamer words.
Gamer words.
So this is rife for lawsuits, and I kind of hope that some idiot or somebody that just doesn't pay attention very much gets banned and doesn't notice this, and gets banned from using the hardware as well, and can take this to court, because I think they can win.
I think they could too.
This
I have to wonder, though,
that I think they could take down Facebook with this, or take a chunk out of them at least.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not just like Facebook. I think that would be a good opportunity to litigate that the whole "well, do you own it or is it leased to you" thing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because you paid cash money for a physical product that they then say that you can't use.
Yeah, because you might have paid for the piece of plastic, but all of the functionality of the piece of plastic is leased to you by agreement.
Yeah, which is total garbage. And thankfully, you don't have to link your Facebook account right away. Although they keep doing system updates, and I keep having to use TrayTool to circumvent them because I don't want them updating that stupid app.
Yeah, sooner or later though, that's not going to work. They'll cotton on and kill it.
TrayTool is in an arms race with Facebook at this point to outgun them whenever they try to get around them.
Yeah. I have to wonder though, what's stopping someone from just making a dummy account?
Nothing, but it's still not worth it because you're going to have purchases and you're going to have your location and you're going to have people that you accidentally view that are tangentially related to you, and your shadow profile will have information about who this is a sock puppet for.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be like, Facebook sooner or later is going to invent a social credit system.
Yeah, and that's effectively what this is. It's a binary social credit system where if you're in good standing, you can use it. Here's the whole quote. So, the interviewer asks, any word on people getting their Facebook accounts banned, making Quest useless? And Bosworth, who I guess is the VP dude, says, yes, of course. We've been tracking this from day one so really closely, following up with every single individual case that comes across. The number of cases isn't large because not that many people have headsets, dummies. But of course, the impact is huge on those people, and we take that really seriously. Every single person in VR matters to us. I think people should continue to make sure their Facebook accounts are in good standing before they buy the headset. They can work through those problems before they do it. So, and second of all, we are working really quickly through resolving all those issues as they come up. There are Facebook account issues. There are Facebook account issues that can be solved, and we're working through them. Yeah, but I want to point out that it is very common. Google, Apple, Xbox, pick a favorite. They make you sign in with an account, and there's a reason for that. Okay, and it goes on. Yeah, so he sounds like either an ignoramus who is ignorant of what this means and how impossible it is to get your account in good standing with Facebook if you've been had a rules infraction against your account once. And he noticeably dodges the question about people being able to actually use the device, because which means that, yeah, you won't be able to use your account and your device if your account's not in good standing.
And before you can lose access to it for having the wrong political views.
Yeah.
They're gonna get the freaking schematics for the nerve gear from Sword Art Online so they can bake the brains of people they don't like.
Geez, that's a horrifying thought. Because it's not outside the realm of possibility.
They're going to see me playing Gay Frogs and Beat Saber and just liquefy my brain.
I mean, sometimes it's justified.
So yeah, the Vive has caught up to the current Oculus. Oculus is going the Quest route anyway. I imagine wireless versions will be available for other ones as well. But if you want the high-powered stuff for PC anyway, and the big VR games, you're going to need a wired one. And Vive has caught up. The Steam's VR headset is supposedly really good, and doing much better after its first revision.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be alternatives.
I'm still waiting for the prices to come down.
Thankfully, if you're smart, you don't buy anything on the dang Oculus store, and you buy it on Steam instead and use TrayTool to use pass-through to pull up Steam VR and run it through that.
Yeah. It was not brought up as a concern, actually, when Facebook first bought Oculus, that there would be some interference in there, so that looks like it's come to pass.
Yeah, we all knew it would happen.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time.
We've still got 2 years before everybody has to go run out and buy a new headset. But or TrayTool has to find a workaround that Facebook has no more control over. Probably by just setting up a proprietary third-party server somewhere that just does the authentication in the headset, or a firmware hack that lets people just install an update into the headset itself that doesn't make it check for that stuff anymore.
It just dummies the authentication somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, because it won't take that long to crack like the Rift S, I don't think. They're already working on it. So they'll eventually get it, probably by the end of next year.
Yeah, people don't like it when they can't play their expensive toys.
Yeah, I gave you a whole lot of money, Oculus. So don't you dare go saying that you're gonna if I don't let Big Daddy Facebook watch me, I can't play, and then say, oh, and if Big Daddy Facebook doesn't like what you say, we can stop you from playing video games.
Yeah. Although after this latest big goof, that could be interesting.
One of the reasons why I dumped this here, though, is that it just seems like you can draw a trend line between this and the Sony story.
Yeah,
like they want too much. They want too much ore in your business. They want too much oversight and scrutiny of what an allegedly free person does in their free time. And they don't want it for any good reason. They don't even want it for a selfish marketing reason. They want it because they just want the say. They want the power. They want to be able to determine what you can and cannot do.
Yep. Este es un problema.
Yeah. All right. More news.
More news.
All right. We can touch on this one really quickly. Who remembers Crucible? Nobody.
Nobody.
Yeah. Nobody.
It was one of Amazon's terrible attempts to become a gaming company.
So Amazon, it's not the first time they've done it, but they launched a game called Crucible. I don't know what it is because they launched it and didn't tell anybody.
Well, the way I understand it is that this was designed to be in tandem with their purchase of Twitch.
Yep.
So the idea was that you would set up you'd be setting up a game of basically the idea was that it was a game type which had a game master. It was designed for streaming, and the game master would determine a lot of the challenges as they in real time, and there would be full Twitch integration such that the audience could like vote or super chat or whatever for stuff to happen, and the game master could implement that.
Yeah, sounds cool.
It was a novel concept. By the time it actually came out, all of that crap was gone. It had been stripped down to being a bare bones MOBA shooter.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was very little marketing push, and nobody cared.
There's no room in the market for that anyway. Like, there are so many
MOBA shooters. So, Amazon, in their wisdom, decided to unlaunch it and take it back to the drawing board.
Which, honestly, not a bad idea, all told, if you've got the ability to execute on it.
Yeah, it's been done before. In this case, that would be a big fat no, because they've officially closed the project.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's basically, if I had to guess, I'd say it's because the whole project has become a white elephant for them. It's a huge amount of money sunk into something that's basically irretrievable at this point.
Mm-hmm.
and their MMO is, frankly, based on what they've developed, what still needs to be done, and so on, is in even more dire straits than Shadowlands. Like,
Ooh.
in terms of being able to meet the release requirements for a decent product that's not going to crash and burn,
Yep.
they just need more development resources, the biggest one being time and or manpower. And the easiest way for them to get that manpower will be to yank it off a project that's going nowhere.
Yep. So
So
it's probably the best thing to do is nobody seems to give a toss about Crucible at this point. So,
But does anybody give the question does anybody give a toss about New World either?
no.
Because that's where this development effort is liable to go. Like I think you can make a good argument that the world basically needs another Western MMO.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
Western MMO, because somebody needs to keep Blizzard on their toes.
Blizzard,
Especially considering the internal tumult taking place at Blizzard right now.
I think Blizzard at this point just needs one decent push and it will completely topple off its pedestal.
Well, the thing is that they're busy pushing each other inside the company.
Yeah. So that,
Have you
they've
heard
kind
the
of
news
achieved
about
some sort of equilibrium of random, arrogant pushing.
Well, the thing is, it's not even about Blizzard anymore. It's about Activision, because the Blizz Activision King complex are basically trying to seize control, because it looks like they've become very unhappy with the amount of influence that the Blizzard studio has. And one of the things that has happened recently is that they're shutting down their French branch entirely, and they're enfolding all that was previously done there into the sort of the Blizzacti King UK branch, which is basically just a corporate arm. So, and this type of consolidation is happening throughout the group. So they really seem to be trying to like surgically extinguish all of the remnants of old Blizzard that are still there.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
we've long been in the position where there's very little of old Blizzard left, to the point that it's unrecognizable. But they are now actively attempting to remove what remains.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that what is left will be a incredibly reduced to the bare fundamentals version of the World of Warcraft team, who are now entirely beholden to Activision bean counters, and as a result, they're going to need something to happen in terms of like competition in that genre in order for that game to be worth anything at all.
Yeah,
because currently they want, and the people who can't stand weeb bullshit will not go to Final Fantasy 14 no matter how good it is.
Yeah,
because it is full of weeb bullshit.
It is.
A lot of people just won't tolerate it, and so they stay with World of Warcraft, because where else are they going to go?
Yeah.
What competitor is there that's not from Korea or Japan?
They could play Elder Scrolls Online. Or Fallout 76, maybe.
The NC games, like, they're fine mechanically, but they're also monetized to all hell and back. So people who don't want their inventories cluttering up with whatever monthly loot crate that it's going to be banging on you to buy keys for will turn away from that pretty quick.
Yeah, they need another juggernaut in the market, and that's what Amazon wanted to provide. But from the reports that I've heard, their attempts to do so have just been too inexpert, too clumsy.
Yeah.
The sort of thing that it might have been acceptable in the market 15 years ago, but isn't now.
Yeah. Like, consolidating their efforts is a good step in the right direction, but
they're trying to take on a project that is so hefty in scope and heavy in cost that I'm not sure that they can actually pull it off. I'm not sure that they're the people to do it. But maybe they could surprise everybody.
I'd love to be surprised.
They haven't shown any sign of being capable of doing so. That's the problem.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of, WoW was very smug in my inbox this morning. Or
Oh, no.
yesterday. They insisted on telling me that they've launched the pre-patch for Shadowlands.
Yeah, they keep sending me those as well.
Please stop.
I have Blizzard immediately going to the spam folder in my personal mailbox it's just become a spam mailbox at this point because it's an email I've had forever.
Yeah.
I just used for registering for accounts. But they immediately are relegated to the spam folder.
Bad for you.
Yeah, the problem is even though Shadowlands, they've delayed the development, but people's opinions of what they've seen in the beta and basically the general course of the expansion is... I'm very much of the opinion that this will be WoW's last expansion.
It'll be definitely, if not the last one, if they can convince their corporate overlords to let them make another one, it will...
then that will be the last.
If they did manage to convince their corporate overlords to let them make the second expansion for Diablo 3 even as successful as their first expansion was.
Yeah.
Like the amount of rope that they are granted is just not very long anymore.
Mm-hmm. So as soon as WoW stops making even just decent money, as soon as it stops making the high profits that it has been, had, I should say, then yeah, they're in trouble. If this expansion does not sell and does not bring back subscribers, that will be it. I see the corporate overlords pulling the plug on the project.
But what is the tent pole then for Blizzard?
To actually keep them in Activision.
To keep them relevant at all.
Overwatch? No.
I don't think they really have anything anymore. They just screwed up so much in the past few years.
They burned all of those bridges, yeah.
They do have initial sales figures just by name recognition of their brand alone, but that's not going to be enough to keep them relevant in the market
I
for
don't
much
agree
longer.
with that anymore, actually. I think that all that goodwill is long gone.
Oh, I think the goodwill is gone, but I think customer reaction of, I'll give the next Blizzard game a try is still very much a real phenomenon.
There's still enough people that see the name Blizzard and say, yeah, I'll take a punt.
Yeah, like we've still got Diablo 4 on the horizon.
I mean, even though Diablo 3 had, a poor reception and I didn't trust Blizzard, I still took a punt on it and bought the PS4 one or whatever it was.
And it was okay once they pulled their heads out of their ass.
It was okay for an afternoon, and then I got bored of it because it was dumb. And it was a repeat of Diablo 2, except worse.
Yes.
But I still took a punt on it because it was a Blizzard game and I have good memories associated with Blizzard.
Yeah, nostalgia will carry them a little bit further, maybe.
I don't know how they're going to continue on that vein. That doesn't seem like a sustainable thing.
I think they'll get one more game out of it.
I think if Overwatch 2 doesn't meet expectations, Activision might just cut their losses with it because the PR is so bad around Blizzard.
If I had to make predictions, Overwatch 2 would kill that momentum if they drop the ball on it. Diablo 4 will get a pass to a point.
I don't think it will. I think that is such a sour point for them that they may just keep it in dev hell for quite a while because they done goofed with that one so bad that they're still recovering from that blow.
Diablo Immortal. They put StarCraft 2 into caretaker mode this last week, so they're not going to get anything further from that. If they do StarCraft 3, they might get a boost, but I don't know.
I just don't think they've got anything left to offer.
I don't think they do either.
Unless they can work an actual miracle with Shadowlands, I don't see how World of Warcraft has a future.
I think they've also got a limited time as well, because now that Mike Morhaim's back in the game, he could just pop up with a shiny new IP and everyone's going to flock straight to that.
Well, if he can get the word out there, I know a lot of people have seen it, a lot of people in the gaming community, but it does not have the same pull that normies have on Blizzard games, because even normies know Blizzard at this point.
Yeah.
So a lot of it will rest on his ability to do that. And I think what's more relevant is if they screw over, if Blizzard keeps screwing up and they keep losing people and they run any old hats that may happen to be stuck around could just leave.
Oh, yeah. And Borheim and his new talent pool has been actively leeching the talent away.
Yeah, well, because they're all old buddies. I don't think it was even. A lot of people try to construe this as in the corporate end and Activision apologists as, oh well, Morheim's just actively subverting the company. These guys were buddies. They've worked together for dozens of years.
And you haven't exactly treated them with respect.
Yeah, they're probably none too happy with the current situation at Blizzard. There's no reason for them to stay if they don't have to.
Yeah.
If they can go back to the way things were, lots of people will buy into that sort of nostalgia. It won't be hard idea to sell.
Yeah, it would be a very, very quick, very easy sell for a lot of people.
Yeah, I imagine when the marketing for Morheim's game comes out, it'll be very much so featuring all the old Blizzard developers that develop World of Warcraft Classic and Diablo 2 and StarCraft 1 and StarCraft and Brood War and etc. And they'll go on with that.
Yeah, I think they'll lean very heavily on that, and that will get a lot of people on board.
Yeah, I think that alone will drive people to jump into the game if they're smart about their marketing and make sure the streamers get it. Then they'll probably be fairly successful.
And it matters now.
I don't like that it matters either, but it's something that we have to remember and account for.
Gotta be an influencer.
This is why, while we make fun of, while we make jokes and say that, yeah, we would love to be internet famous and not have to do any real work, that means we would effectively be streamers or some equivalent to streamers.
Honestly, I don't think I could live the life of an influencer with everyone watching you for like that. It's just creepy.
No, I don't think I could either.
And you make one wrong step, and suddenly the brigades fall on your heads.
I think I would be okay because, in general, I don't care what people think. But that also means I would not be successful because I don't care what people think.
Yeah, you say that now though, but yeah, you can only take. Everyone has their limit.
Yeah, they're the ever-present knowledge that you're under scrutiny at all times is what wears on you. It's not their opinions; it's the fact that they have them, that they're constantly watching,
and they're waiting.
I think that's probably part of what makes VTubers so successful is that they can behave in a more natural manner because it's not them. In a sense.
That's that layer of separation between actor and character.
Yeah, so they can abstract out everybody watching their character from their life being under the microscope.
So, all right. What other news do we have? I think we've got time for one more.
Why does my room smell like roses?
I don't know. Why does your room suddenly smell like roses?
Like a breeze came in through the window.
Are there roses outside?
There's a plant covered in thorns out there. Is that close enough?
Yeah, close enough.
I didn't see any flowers on it.
Usually if I open the window and get a breeze through it, all I smell is dirt.
Yeah, if there's one thing Australia is definitely rich in, it's dust.
We do have a lot of dust.
I'm astonished that you can keep your car looking like a car and not a moving sand dune.
Yeah, you have to wash it every day. And more to the point, you have to wash it when there's no breeze. If you wash it when there's a breeze, you'll just the dust will just stick to it.
Instead of a layer of dust, you get a layer of cement.
Yes. Yeah, you don't want to know what happens when it rains.
Streaks everywhere.
Oh no, we don't. We skip straight past great streaks.
Oh, mud.
It's all like advanced camouflage.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have a white car, it will turn black.
Very progressive of that car.
Oh boy, you went there.
Of course I went there.
Ari always goes there. You should know this by now.
Should know better. Do we have any other newslets?
Nothing really jumped out at me this week, but I was distracted by taxes and dead after playing a couple hours of Genshin after work, so I didn't really look that thoroughly.
Yeah.
Also, lots of real-life U.S. politics stuff has been going on that I've been spending my free time following.
Oh boy, hasn't it?
And I was watching that, and I kind of wish I didn't because it wasn't worth it.
What didn't you watch?
I said I watched the coverage on the election, and I kind of wish I hadn't because it wasn't worth it.
Oh, the New Zealand election.
Yeah.
But how would you know that light overcomes darkness?
I didn't actually watch that because I very rarely watch the acceptance speeches or whatever. But
Well,
who was she implying was darkness? And isn't that
I
kind
have
of racist?
no idea what she was waffling on about.
I'm going to say that it's racist because she's actually sensitive to stuff like that.
Yeah, Australians in general have a very low opinion of Ardern.
Yeah.
I saw a really, really good editorial written by an Australian on how pointing out that she hasn't actually managed to do anything and that the idea that she handled COVID was just a popular delusion.
Yeah.
And the columnist who wrote it was actually gloating that all the best talent in New Zealand is going to come to Australia after Ardern manages to destroy the economy in her second term.
She's well on track for that. But no, a lot of the Australian hate for her comes from her last appearance here. She did a public address along with Scott Morrison on the steps of the Opera House, and
man, that was so cringy.
Yeah, she basically shoved him out of the way after he introduced her and talked about herself for 20 minutes.
But that's all she knows. She's a communication major.
Yeah, whereas Scott Morrison was trying to talk about some sort of combined project between the two countries. She said, nah, just waffling on about herself.
Oh, she's just the ultimate in cringe, and it's a perennial embarrassment when she goes overseas.
Let's see. Oh, there was this story that I punted on last week that we can do.
Ooh.
So I mentioned it last week, I think, but I don't think we talked about it. And I know Vol hasn't done any reading on it because it's on the farms where most of the information's aggregating right now.
And the farms are banned in this country.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Because we have a fascist government.
So I posted a screenshot in the live show chat for the headliner at the headline at the top of the page. Rooster Teeth has been, after going super social justice warrior woke, has become the center of another one of these Me Too catastrophes.
Yay!
Reset the clock.
Yeah, and the problem with this one is there's a bit of evidence to support that at least the first few accusers are telling the truth. Where this dude who appeared to be a fairly normal family man looking dude, Ryan Haywood, just apparently was soliciting sex from minors at Rooster Teeth and grooming them.
Oh boy.
And other individuals that were fans of Rooster Teeth. And one of his buddies, Adam Kovic, was apparently either complicit or knew about it in some way.
Yes.
And he got found out and announced his departure. So both of them have left. They're both part of the Achievement Hunter block of Rooster Teeth, I think. And which is always like the casual live streamers that really don't produce anything of meat. They just produce stuff in bulk. Lots of Let's Plays and stuff.
Male feminists, not even once.
Yeah, so this dude has got, because Rooster Teeth went full social justice warrior, they attracted a certain demographic of people that love the Me Too movement. And despite the fact that Joe Biden killed it, they have pulled its corpse out of the ground to run after this guy. And he has like 10 accusers writing giant Google documents about how he abused them. Most of them look really sketch and have no evidence. Some of them have evidence that looks fairly convincing, like the first two.
I mean, you reset the clock on this again. Is it just me or does Rooster Teeth need their own clock?
Well, Rooster Teeth hasn't been caught in a giant Me Too scandal before, I don't. They've been caught in doing other shady stuff, but it's mostly been business or related to their products.
Okay.
This is the first time one of their people at this super woke into the company just got totally owned.
I thought one of their people got pulled up in something similar a few years back, but I can't remember now.
Even if normally I don't like highlighting Me Too stuff because it's Me Too stuff and it needs to be proven in a court of law.
Yeah, it's basically standing around saying witch.
But there's a takeaway here. Rooster Teeth set themselves up for this disaster to happen. They cultivated the culture that participates in this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are just reaping the seeds they have sown. So even if Ryan and Adam are completely innocent in all this, and it comes out that they had the receipts and whatever, it doesn't matter. Because the takeaway here is don't turn your company into a social justice warrior cesspool, because you will attract people that either are predators, or you'll attract people that are always looking for predators where there aren't any.
Yeah. Companies are starting to really swing around to that line of thinking, but it's a slow process.
Yeah, well, because it costs money.
It does.
Costs money, and it gives you bad press, which costs you money. Everything ends up costing you money. Just stay away from it.
Yeah.
Like, justice should be carried out under its own merits, not by some sort of crusading business with a financial interest. Like,
Yeah.
it's not worth being involved in it. Nobody is impressed when you say bad things are bad.
No.
There's a lot of people that seem to think otherwise, but that's not the case. When you say bad thing, bad, okay, it's not going to make anybody think you're a good person.
No, you're not impressing anyone.
Anything that puts you on the hook for involving yourself.
On the other hand, however, get woke, go broke has proven to be very true.
Yeah, for a lot of people it has. I've seen a lot of arguments that it doesn't, because the big juggernauts like Facebook is still around, but
they're still around, but they're losing investors and money hand over foot. And we're seeing things like the NFL and the NBA, where the NBA had the lowest viewership ever in a time when good chunks of the population are still locked down for their finals this year.
Yeah, ultra big companies are not going to fall over because of it, because some of them are just too big at this point for that sort of effect.
I think that what we're really going to see, though, is we're going to see the abrupt termination of a lot of businesses that were on the way out.
Yeah,
like things that are starting to reach the end of their tenure. I don't think that the NBA was doing that well, to be honest. It doesn't really seem like it. And all it takes is the bullet to land in the right place, and then all of a sudden it doesn't matter that you were going to, gracefully age into the sunset because you just went and got yourself shot between the eyes in plain sight of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's they were definitely stagnant. I don't think they were in a position where they were going to fall apart anytime soon. But this has just completely killed it. And interesting.
It's sort of like in that sense, it's sort of like cinemas, right? They're suffering really badly as a result of the lockdowns. But that's not because of cinemas qua cinemas. It's because people realize that they don't care for them anymore now that they don't need them.
Yeah, I was talking to actually someone about this yesterday. Cinemas, they were on their way out before because home streaming is so much cheaper, more convenient, more comfortable. Like, you don't have to deal with screaming children or ridiculously expensive popcorn.
Or if you have screaming children, you don't need to make other people deal with them and deal with the shame with that.
Yeah. So cinemas were on their way out, and then comes the Rona, and suddenly highly accelerates that. Like, you saw some cinemas, they were making a kind of a push to make, a movie and a meal type thing, or some sort of other special occasion like that, just to give themselves a new entry in the market. Yeah,
most of the ones I saw were trying to gear themselves as being for those looking for a place to go during a date, mostly because that was movies are a popular thing to do for couples.
Yeah, there was a good push for that.
That seemed to be where the majority of cinemas were taking their business, at least in my area. And then the Wu Flu hit.
Yeah, all the ones I actually saw tried to do that because, that seems like a nice idea. Be able to go and have a family meal and watch a movie, or if you're on a date, go and have a date, and movie, and a meal all in one place. Or that's fine. But do I really have to sell my firstborn child to do it?
Yes.
Yeah, apparently so. At least that's what the cinemas think. Because, oh boy, those prices.
Yeah, they became such a luxury that I don't think anybody cared anymore.
Yeah, so especially when you've got Disney saying, okay, come to get Disney Plus, you pay your subscription, then you pay us like $5 and unlock an early access a premiere screening of this new movie that's come out. And that's it. It's like $5 for everyone in your household to watch it as many times as they want. Or you could just wait for a couple of weeks where that comes off and just watch it on your regular subscription.
Yeah.
The point I'm basically trying to make is that Not just that. Oh well, the lockdowns have done damage to the business that cinemas were doing, and it has put them in their death throes. So much as what it has done is forced people to realize that they already didn't care.
Yeah.
Because that a lot of people still habitually went to the cinemas. Like the people that really support the cinema industry were the people that habitually go to the cinema when a new movie comes out. That's just, oh well, this is what we do. We make a night of it.
And it's still an
the
okay thing.
Yeah, but the Rona making that night become a night in, it raised the standard that needs to be met by the cinema to justify making it a night out instead. Because people realize that actually it's kind of comfortable on my couch, and now that my television is 55 inches, I don't actually really care to sit surrounded by other people crinkling their chip bags.
Yeah, you can sit on the couch with your snack of choice, no pants, and be perfectly comfortable.
Yeah, and you can go to the bathroom whenever you want.
Bathroom break.
Yeah, you can pause it if you need to leave.
Which is always a plus of doing something at home.
Yes.
You own your own bathroom.
So, yeah, it's just kind of accelerated the whole death of cinema. I won't say cinemas are going to die away completely, but you're going to start seeing a lot less of them around.
But yeah, so I think that getting back to where we were with the NBA, I think that it's going to trigger the same sort of phenomenon. Like people will prioritize what they value, having had their habits so firmly disrupted. It's why the churches, particularly a lot of the Catholic churches, spoke about this in particular, that a lot of people will not come back to church having had their routine of going to church disrupted.
Yep.
It's just because when you break a habit, when a habit gets forcibly broken like that, it takes a lot of work to reform it after the fact.
Yeah,
and this applies to all kinds of things.
It's going to happen on a lot of things, like both good and bad.
Yeah.
Sadly, lurking outside the pub at 10 a.m. waiting for it to open is not a habit that has been broken, unfortunately.
Perennial, that's part of humanity.
Yeah. Self-destruction is just part of human nature. Alright, do we have anything else worth talking about?
Nope.
No, I don't know. I don't actually know anything about buffalo wings in combo with League of Legends.
Oh, why?
Because it was lol. What is it?
I remember, was it you that asked me about this in the middle of the week? What's buffaloes?
No, I didn't. It wasn't.
So, what on earth is this?
Oh, buffaloes is just a chicken sit-in restaurant franchise.
Decent chicken or crappy chicken?
I mean, medium to bad chicken. Not awful. It's like one of those places you go because you want to go somewhere to eat with your family, but you've been everywhere else recently, so I guess we'll go to Buffalo's.
Like, are we talking above or below KFC?
Below.
Whoa.
That's bad.
I don't like Buffalo's chicken.
You go there if you hate yourself.
I do really like KFC's heart attacks in a box.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it is a tasty heart attack, but you know it is killing you.
I mean, there's the icky feeling with KFC, but it's not, what's a good way to put it? It doesn't taste bad. It just feels like it's killing you.
Yeah. Like, you can't necessarily taste the death, but you know it's there. Like, Australian KFC is a lot better than American KFC, but you still know it's bad for you. I say better, I mean slightly more conscious of its health impact.
Yeah.
Slightly.
I don't like much at all. I don't eat there, generally speaking.
Yeah, their bread roll is more, slightly more to do with bread and less to do with cake.
Oh, ours aren't.
Yeah. Oh, they're definitely way too sweet to be bread.
I heard that there was a lawsuit actually in, I can't remember if it was France or Germany. It was some European country, where they I think it was Subway was forced by law to reclassify their bread because it had such a high sugar content that it didn't meet the legal definition of bread.
Yeah, I actually heard about Subway in a similar case a couple of years ago with their chicken, where their chicken does not actually meet the legal definition of meat. Because it was like something like 70% grain substitute.
Wow.
Yeah. Seriously, American food laws really need to catch up.
No, I like our deregulated food industry right where it is. Thank you.
I like to actually know that there is food in my food.
If
Well,
it
provided
tastes,
that they tell you, I don't mind.
That there
in
is
fact,
no
I made-
food in this food.
It's nice enough.
it's like when you go to McDonald's. You don't know what's in that burger, but you just need a McDonald's burger right now, so you're just gonna get that double quarter pounder.
I am never going to eat at an American McDonald's.
I would like to eat it at American McDonald's because I think New Zealand McDonald's burgers are too small.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, you get a double quarter pounder here. You're getting a double quarter pound piece of meat.
Meat
Here it's
substitute.
more like alleged double quarter pound.
Yeah, I usually get them plain and put my own crap on it when I get home. If I want anything on it. And it's still a big old heavy burger, even if you eat it with nothing on it.
If I want a burger, I go somewhere else. Generally, unless McDonald's is the only thing handy.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to hate yourself a little bit.
They're too small.
When you
Burger.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many food type culture shocks if you ever do eventually move to the US.
I think I will very, very quickly and effectively
Die.
Other than the cardiac arrest that will follow inevitably, I think that I'll have no trouble adapting.
I think I will.
That if you move in the South,
anything so long as it's fried.
Yeah, you'll do fine in the South. You'll have to acquire a taste for sweet tea though, or at least learn to choke it down.
I'm not really a fan of sweet tea. I'm more when it comes to the typical Western hot drinks. I generally prefer coffee, but I get imported tea from China when I drink.
Southern sweet tea. Nobody has a favorite sweet tea brand in the South because sweet tea isn't tea. It's sugar with something that might have been tea once added to dilute the sugar.
There has been tea, just in proximity to the cup, but not actually in it.
Something labeled a tea bag was put in with the sugar.
Somebody waved a tea leaf over a vat of sugar solution.
So that's a thing.
Oh dear, oh dear. Shall we start wrapping up?
Yep.
All right. Unfortunately, I did not make it to the end of the journey to get my living ship, but this planet's kind of cool, and it has a rainbow. Way to go! I lost the rainbow.
I see.
It left. I scared it off.
So yeah, folks, remember to check out our political spinoff show if you are so inclined, and give us some feedback. People have been generally pretty positive about it so far, and we're going to continue in that vein and continue to improve it. Give us some suggestions on what you want. And we might be putting up a new episode sometime pretty soon here. We would like to do one this week, but I think Vol's schedule is a little messed up.
My schedule's very busy. There's still a non-zero chance that I'll be able to clear time, but I don't know if Ari will be online because by the time I clear time, it'll probably be the wee hours of the morning for him.
Yeah, we will see. So yeah, I think we're done, folks. We will see y'all next week. Sayonara. Bye-bye.